Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Experimented as Child and Became Zeiram the Predator Monster movie. Before we start, please go support Cybercommand 3 for writing that awesome fanfic. Izuku Midoriya had an interesting quirk, not strong but unique. It was so unique that people took him to use it. So at age 4, Izuku was kidnapped and experimented on and turned into a monster. After years of torture, he decided he was done being the prey. If anything, he would be the predator. The start of hell. In a dull-looking exterior building, there was a family of 2. A wonderful mother with long silk green hair, and her 4-year-old son, who had fluffy green hair and 4 freckles on each cheek in a diamond shape. Today was a special day for the young child, as he is at the time of age where kids get their quirks. Mommy, get up! The little boy shouted as he jumped on his mother. Okay, Izuku, I'm coming. Just get your stuff on while I wake up, the woman said to her child. Okay, he said back. Izuku quickly ran to his room and grabbed his toy of Almight, then ran to the bathroom and brushed his teeth while trying to brush that mess of a fuzzball he has on his head. Afterwards he ran to the door and slipped his shoes on. I see you're ready, his mother said to him as she just grabbed the car keys. They then proceeded to the car and drove to the doctor's. When they arrived, Izuku and his mother quickly went to the 6th floor and sat in the waiting room. While there, Izuku looked over and saw another boy who had a raven head and some kind of shadow hiding behind him. Hi, I'm Midoriya Izuku, what's your name? The kid looked at him then replied. I am Tokoyami Fumikage. Nice to meet you, Toko-san, Izuku said to the boy. Izuku and Tokoyami talked for the entire time till a nurse called Izuku and his mother into the office. Why, hello there, Mrs. Midoriya, the doctor said as he saw them come in. And hello to you too, little Izuku. Now don't be frightened, all I'm gonna do is take some of your blood so we can see what your quirk is. As the doctor did as he said and went to test it, Izuku was restless in his chair, bouncing up and down from the excitement. After about 20 minutes, the doctor came back into the room with a smile on his face. Well, Mrs. Midoriya, it seems your son has a quirk, and an entirely new one at that, he announced. Your child has 10 tendrils that have not only the ability to grab and hook onto things, but can also control any sort of technology if they attach to it. So I can be a hero, little Izuku shouted with pure happiness in his voice. Yes, you can, child, the doctor said. After talking more about his quirk, which he decided to name it Technowhip, and then they left with Izuku waving to the doctor as they walked out the door. After leaving, the doctor instantly ran to his phone and called a number labeled as work. This is Putabe, president of Kidnaped. Who is this? A man on the other line proclaimed. Sir, it's me. I finally found someone that we can use for the Zeiram project. You better be, or you're gonna be losing more than a job, the man on the other line threatened. Don't worry, sir. All I need is some men and we will capture him shortly. Time skip one day. Izuku is now seen playing in an open field with another boy with spiky hair and red-colored eyes. So Izuku, did you finally get your quirk? The boy asked. Sure did, Kaken, Izuku said back as he showed off his quirk. That's so cool, Kaken said as he then by mistake kicked the ball they were playing with too far. I'll get it, Izuku said as he ran over, not noticing the man hiding in a corner behind a tree. As Izuku retrieved the ball, the man came out of hiding and put a cloth over Izuku's mouth and nose. Struggled as he might, Izuku eventually gave in to the drowsy feeling and fell asleep. As the man was taking him away, the other boy noticed this and ran after him, but 2 other guys came out of nowhere and grabbed onto him, then proceeded to knock him out. When the boy came to, he saw that they were gone and instantly ran home crying. Katsuki, why are you making such a racket? His mother shouted, but instantly stopped when she saw her son crying and then picked him up while asking what was wrong. Some men came while me and Izuku were playing and they took him away, Katsuki stated while crying his heart out. Meanwhile, in a facility far from any city, Izuku awoke to being strapped to a metal table and saw many syringes and other sharp things around the room. Izuku then saw a man come in wearing rubber gloves and a doctor outfit. Now you might be wondering why you're here. Well, we were hired by Kidnaped to experiment on you, and that's just what we're gonna do, so this may hurt a lot, the man stated as he took a syringe that had a weird white bubbling liquid in it and stabbed it into Izuku. Izuku screamed in pure agony as he felt like his skin was burning and morphing as it turned completely pitch black and had a shiny afterglow. "Don't think this is over just yet, boy." He spoke the last word with a sadistic venom in his voice. "We have so much more coming." And all that was heard for the rest of the night, as well as many more, was just screams. I am uncageable. After years of experimentation on Izuku, his screams filling the air almost every night for the first 2 years as they injected different things into him, he soon looked nothing like he used to. He became a literal monster. After 11 years of stabbing and prodding, we see Izuku in an empty room beating up robot dummies with his bare hands. Except he was completely different. He was about 8 feet tall, had big black boots, wore a long Indian-looking robe that was red with the neck area being black and had fur on the shoulders. Wore a scarf wrapped around his mouth with a visor fused to his body, had long sharp claws with a blackish purple skin. He also wore a casa of the same color that had a little kabuki face on the front. Picture at the top is what he looks like. As he was punching right through the robots, the many scientists were watching him. "I heard that the guy we're selling him to wants it tonight," one of them said. "Yep, that is correct, so we're shipping him out later today," one of the others stated. What all the scientists failed to notice was that even though they were on soundproof one-sided glass, Izuku was looking straight at them and heard every word that they said. Also unbeknownst to them, he had that twisted gleam in his eye when he heard them say, "Shipping him out." A few hours later, as they were discussing plans, they heard an explosion, right after the alarm went off. "Alert, alert, heroes have invaded the premises," the robotic voice of the alarm stated. "Quickly grab Zeiram and go," the chief scientist shouted. The men quickly ran into the room and chained Zeiram/Izuku's hands together along with wrapping chains around his head and hat. They then started pulling him along, which he willingly went along with instead of struggling. The fools thought it was cause they had control over him, but really it was cause Zeiram was planning something. As they walked by one of the computers, they didn't notice a light blue tendril come out of Zeiram's hat and hooked itself to the computer. It then accessed the mainframe and wiped all data about the Zeiram project. It then detached itself and went back into the hat. They then proceeded to push Zeiram into the back of an armored truck and tied the chains to the bottom of it. What they didn't realize was that the face on Zeiram's hat broke out into a smile. Meanwhile, the heroes were having 2 operations. The first one consisted of Almight, Eraserhead, Ectoplasm, Best Jeanist, Gang Orca and Midnight were attacking the facility that Zeiram had been experimented on. While the second one consisted of Endeavor, Present Mike, Snipe, Hawks, Hound Dog, and Kamui Woods attacked the headquarters of Kidnaped, after Niza had discovered that they were the ones funding the secret lab. To say that Putabe was surprised was an understatement. He didn't expect the heroes to discover that he was a part of this, and that they would break into his own company. He, however, was sadly mistaken, and before he could even try to call security, a branch wrapped around him. "Putabe, president of Kidnaped, you are under arrest for experimentation on people as well as murder. You have the right to remain silent," Kamui Wood shouted as he pulled Putabe out of the building and placed him on the ground. Meanwhile, in the other facility, Eraserhead and Midnight were having some trouble since all the defenses are robots. Luckily, Gang Orca and All Might were able to punch right through them. They had to be careful, however, cause these guys had guns. "They just keep coming," Ectoplasm shouted. "Well, we just got to keep moving, and take out the central computer, then they'll all shut down," Best Jeanist shouted back, while using the thread in his suit to stab right through 3 robots. The group kept traversing through this maze of a facility, destroying any machines that got in their way, until they finally reached the computer. Just as one of Ectoplasm's clones went for it, a blue energy field went up, causing the clone to explode. "Damn, a force field!" Midnight shouted. "What do we do now?" "All Might, Gang Orca, quickly tunnel underground into the area of the force field," Eraserhead commanded. They quickly tunneled through and realized Eraserhead was right. The field is only above, not below. They got into the force field and smashed the computer, shutting down all the robots. But as they hacked into the mainframe, it seemed that one project, whatever it was, got wiped off of it, with nothing but an empty data folder there. At the armored car that was now miles away from the facility, Zeiram decided now was as good a time as any to escape. He effortlessly moved his arms, snapping the chains to bits. Then proceeded to rip the chains off his head, hat and legs. He looked to the side of the vehicle, reeled his arm back, then punched right through the wall. Zeiram reached his arm out and a slender tendril came out of his hand, and upon going to the front wheel on the right side, wrapped around it like goo, and ripped it off. "I can't control the car, something took out the wheel," the driver shouted. Right as he was done saying that, the car flipped over and fell off a hill. It spiraled down the hill, then landed straight on the engine, causing it to explode. Out of the smoke and ashes walked Zeiram without a scratch, his hat having that devilish smile the entire time. Hunter. It is now 10 months after the heroes had raided Kidnaped, and we now see a 23-year-old man running for his life. This man is Hagano Kinzu, the leader of an underground terrorist organization. As he runs as fast as he can, breathing heavily and in a panicked state, looks behind himself only to see a tall man wearing armor, a visor, scarf, robe, and had a cassock with a face on it, holding a dead body in his bare hands, the neck twisted at a 180% angle with blood spewing out of the mouth. Zeiram in an instant was right in front of the man, and hit him with the body he was carrying. The man fell over and Zeiram proceeded to pick up the man by his throat, and then squeezed until his neck snapped. Afterwards he dragged the body to a secret warehouse and dropped the body in front of a man. "I see you killed him, you're as deadly as they say it seems, and here's your payment as agreed," the man said as he gave Zeiram a suitcase full of money. For as you see, Zeiram became an assassin. After hours of walking, the beast had arrived at its location, a gravestone with the words, "Here lies Izuku Midoriya, beloved by many." The hulking creature crouched down and put a hand full of roses right in front of the gravestone. Without saying even a single word, he just got up and walked away. On the other side of town, Katsuki Bakugo was training at Dagoba Beach so that he could handle the quirk known as One for All, and to get ready for the UA entrance exams. His training consisted of moving all the trash off the beach as well as blowing it up after. Watching him was a very scrawny man that had crazy, long blonde hair, and kept coughing up blood. "That's it, young Bakugo, put your back into it," the man shouted. "I am you old bucktard, now shut up," Bakugo yelled back. As the two were talking, I guess they didn't notice the tall man, that was missing almost his entire face, watching them. The man, after observing, walked into a purple portal. "Now night, Eraserhead, I'm gonna be saying Aizawa from now on, cause it's shorter," was doing his nightly patrol when he heard a scream. He quickly ran over only to see a tall shrouded man bury his hand into another man's chest, and rip out the guy's heart. The hero quickly took action by wrapping his capture weapon around the man's arm and glared at him, activating his quirk. The behemoth of a person looked at Aizawa, and then the face on his hat broke out into a crooked smile. Zeiram pulled his arm back, instantly lifting Aizawa off the ground, and then he punched him right in the face, causing Aizawa to launch into the ground, creating a crater, and leaving him unconscious. Zeiram looked at the man pitifully, and tore the capture weapon off of him. Zeiram then just walked away, still holding the heart of the man he killed earlier. About 30 minutes later, police arrived only to find Aizawa in a giant hole in the concrete. They quickly got paramedics that took Aizawa to the nearest hospital. Not that long after, Hisashi, otherwise known as President Mike, ran in after hearing about what happened to his husband. "Where is Sho? Is he okay? Please tell me he's okay," Hisashi quickly asked the doctor. "He is completely fine. All he has is a broken wrist, a few cracked ribs, and maybe a concussion," the doctor stated back. Hisashi sighed in relief when he heard that Shota wasn't gonna die. If he did, Hisashi doesn't know if his heart could take it. Aizawa woke up to a bright light flashing in his eyes and then realized he was in the hospital. He questioned how he got here, since last thing he remembered was hearing a scream while out doing his patrol. As he was still questioning what happened, the doctor walked in. I see you're awake. I'll tell your husband right away. He's been very worried for you." In about a minute after the doctor left, Hisashi came running in, bawling his eyes out. "Shota, I'm so glad you're okay. You don't know how worried I was for you," Hisashi shouted as he hugged Aizawa. "Ow! Aizawa grunted as soon as Hizashi made contact. "Oh, I'm sorry." Hizashi instantly apologized as he let go. The doctor then came back into the room and started to ask questions. "Well, it seems that you do have a concussion, so you should probably lie down for a couple of days," the doctor informed. Farther away in an abandoned chemical plant, we see Zeiram sitting there waiting for his next client. He sees no point in life, except to slaughter and make money while doing it, for he has big plans, ones that require a lot of money, but what they are is beyond us. As the lights shut off, all we can see is the sadistic smile his hat makes as it fades to darkness, planning its next victim. Slay and destroy. We see Zeiram walking down the alleyways. Despite his size being incredibly quiet and also on high alert even though looking relaxed. He keeps walking until he finds a secret building that looks like a rundown lab. When he enters, it reveals an underground passageway that led to a maze of paths and corridors. Zeiram easily maneuvered through the lair of twists and turns and ends up in front of a wooden door. When he opens it, he sees three men, one with a white robe, plague doctor mask, one that looks like a living stuffed animal, and the last had a green hoodie, plague doctor mask, white gloves, black hair, and gold-colored eyes. The first one was sitting behind an open couch, the second one sitting on a table, and the last one was sitting on a couch right across the other couch. The man in the seat offered the other one to Zeiram, so he did. "Nice to meet you, I'm Kai Chisaki, but you can call me Overhaul," the man on the couch introduced. "The one on my right is Mimic, and the one behind you is Chronostasis." Zeiram replied to the man in a deep but raspy voice. "Job? A man of short words, I see. Well, what we want you to do is sabotage the League of Villains. You see, they're about to make their debut, and when we offered them assistance for some control, they declined. So do whatever you want, slaughter them for all I care. Just make sure their mission fails, understand?" Overhaul stated. Zeiram nodded, then again asked in very few words. "Pay? You will be paid €1,675,589 if you do this," Overhaul announced. Zeiram nodded again after hearing this, then got up and left, but not before giving a warning. "If you try to betray me, I will hunt you down and kill you," then left. "Sir, are you really just gonna let you go after threatening you like that?" Mimic shouted. "Yes, I will. If you've seen his track record, he's become one of the top assassins in only a year. If he makes a threat, he isn't bluffing, so if he says he can kill me, he can kill me," Overhaul said. A few days later we see Katsuki and the rest of his class getting ready for school. "When is Mr. Aizawa gonna get here?" A kid with yellow crazy hair with a streak of black in it said. "He's probably gonna be late again," another kid with 6 arms said. "All of you be quiet," Aizawa shouted as he walked into the classroom. "Today we are going to the Unseen Simulation Joint, otherwise known as the USJ. You can either wear your hero outfit or your gym outfit. Now get dressed and get on the bus outside. If any of you are out in more than 5 minutes, you'll be expelled." All the students instantly ran as fast as possible. On the bus, all the children were talking about whatever does their fancy when Suyu asked, "Hey Bakugo, isn't your second quirk kinda like Almight's?" "Don't compare me to him. I'm gonna surpass him and become the #1 hero," Bakugo shouted back. "Well, at least you have a flashy quirk. Mine won't really get that much attention," Kirishima stated. "Well, if anyone won't be that popular, it would probably be Bakugo cause of his personality," Suyu stated. "What did you say, Frog?" Bakugo shouted. "It is true, after all you're like a bomb that's ready to explode," Kaminari said back. Back with Zeiram, we see him walking down alleyways making sure not to be seen as he thinks of a way to find out where the USJ is. As he wanders, he sees what looks to be thugs, but along closer inspection hears them talking about the attack that is going to happen, so like any assassin he gets the information out of them. He starts by appearing behind the guy closest to him, grabs him by the head and the torso, ripping him in half. The other 3 just watch as one of their comrades' intestines spill out onto the floor. One of them gets over the shock and tries to attack Zeiram, but he just pulls out what looks to be a giant metal spike and stabs it into the man's throat. Zeiram sensed that the female might be a nuisance, so he quickly slit her throat with the same weapon, then turned his hand into a weird blob and shot it at the last guy, pinning him to a wall. Tell me where the USJ is, or I will rip your throat out, Zeiram threatened. Okay, it's use whatever you want for the coordinates now, please don't do it, the man said. Good, but I only said I wouldn't rip your throat out. And as he finished that sentence, he stabbed his weapon right through the man's skull. With the students, they finally arrived and are now face to face with the Pro Hero 13. Now, before we begin, just let me say one thing, well, maybe two things, possibly 3, 4, or 5. Listen carefully. I'm sure you're aware that I have a powerful quirk. It's called Black Hole. I can use it to suck up anything and turn it into dust, 13 stated. Yeah, you have used that quirk to save many people, Ochako said. That may be true, but it could also very easily be used to kill. Some of you also have powers that can be dangerous. In our superhuman society, all quirks are certified and stringently regulated, so we often overlook how unsafe they can actually be. Please don't forget that if you lose focus or make the wrong move, your powers can be deadly. Even if you're trying to do something virtuous like rescue someone. Thanks to Aizawa's fitness tests, you have a solid idea of your quirk's potential. And because of All Might's combat training, you likely experienced how dangerous your powers can be when used against other people. Carry your lessons over to this class. Today, you're gonna learn how to use your quirks to save people's lives. You won't be using your powers to attack enemies or each other, only to help. After all, that's what being a hero is all about. Ensuring the safety of others. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for listening. 13 finished with a bow. As the students were getting ready to start, a black and purple vortex appeared and a bunch of people walked out of it. Also from the vortex came a man covered in hands with light blue hair, and a giant black skinned thing with a bird head and its brain exposed. The vortex also proceeded to stretch higher, and 2 golden eyes appeared. Oh cool, they even have fake villains, Kirishima stated. Get back, Aizawa shouted. Those aren't fake, they're real villains. As all the students looked surprised, Aizawa told 13 to stay with them, and ran towards the villains. But before anyone could attack, something fell through the roof of the USJ and landed so hard it created a crater. When the smoke cleared out of the hole came a hulking figure wearing a cassock with a face, and the face smiled. Life Oblivion Validation LOV. Everyone backed away, questioning who this mysterious man was that came from what some of the idiotic villains believed to be from heaven, or some of that other shit we all know doesn't exist. For anyone who does believe in heaven, just know I'm joking around, and I'm not trying to be offensive to your beliefs. He stood straight up and looked around him. He knew not to attack the heroes, as that was not what he is getting paid for, and it would be a waste of time and energy. So he immediately put all his focus on the weak villains in front of him, and before they could even make a peep, stabbed right through their necks. The 3 villains that he stabbed died instantly, and the other villains around got scared half to death. The criminals then knew that this was no hero. On the other side, Aizawa had instantly recognized the man as the one who had beat him in an instant a while back, and remembered how his quirk didn't work on the guy. Because of that, Aizawa backed away, cause he knew he wouldn't be able to beat him, and the fact that the guy seemed to be focused on the villains and not him or his students. Bakugo, though foolishly enough, blasted past Aizawa and aimed his hand at the towering figure. Bakugo, don't! Aizawa shouted. But it was too late, for Bakugo had already shot the explosion at the creature. Before the smoke could clear, a hand reached out and grabbed Bakugo by the wrist and held him in the air dangling. The smoke then faded to show the hulking figure holding him without even a scratch. It then said as it proceeded to throw Bakugo. You are not my target, stay out of the way. Zeiram then turned his attention back to the villains and swiftly killed 20 more in a blink of an eye. He then started slaughtering them. Annoyingly, the teleportation user got to the heroes, but he didn't care. Shigaraki couldn't believe this. First, All Might doesn't show up, and then some random what seems to be secret boss level shows up. But he knows he'll win cause he has the Nomu. As he realizes that, he sends the Nomu to attack. Nomu, kill this fool! The Nomu screeches and runs at Zeiram and punches him right in the face. Ha ha, you're dead, you weakling! Shigaraki yells while laughing. Is that really what you think? You're pathetic. When the smoke clears, we see that the punch the Nomu threw did nothing to him. Zeiram then punches the Nomu, and it blows a hole right through its chest. The Noma then starts to regenerate. Fool, you may bypass his shock absorption, but he also has super regeneration, Shigaraki states. The Noma finishes regeneration and runs at Zeiram again, but all he does is swing his arms so fast and is now holding the Noma's right arm in his hand. The Noma screeches in pain as his entire arm is missing but grows a new one. Zeiram then cuts both of its feet off right as it finishes regenerating. As it grows its feet back, he then kicks it right through its spine and also grabs it by the jaw and breaks it. Zeiram proceeds to keep breaking or ripping off the creature's parts each time it finishes regenerating until he got bored. After he was done playing, he stuck one of his weapons straight through the side of his head and ripped his bottom jaw off. Then he stabbed a weapon into each limb, pinning him to the floor, then walked up to the head and stepped on it so hard it exploded. The Noma then stopped moving altogether, just a lifeless husk. Shigaraki started shaking in anger while scratching his neck. You cheated, no one can beat Noma!" Shigaraki shouted. In his Shigaraki's mind he was thinking that this is not just any secret boss, this is the secret final boss, and he was not ready for it. Kurojairi then teleported over and told Shigaraki about one of the students escaping and that the heroes would be here soon. With nothing left, Shigaraki told Kurojairi to open a portal so they could leave. But before they could do that, a giant needle-like weapon stabbed into his arm. He screamed in pain, and as he started to run to the portal, a bullet went in the other limbs, as the heroes had arrived. Kurojairi had surrounded Shigaraki and teleported both of them away. After the heroes got here they looked at Zeiram and snipes started shooting at him. He just took the bullets as they hit, then just fell on the ground. Ectoplasm and Present Mike attacked him, but he just ignored the sound and ripped apart Ectoplasm's copies with his weapons. Before the other heroes could attack him, he jumped back through the hole in the ceiling and disappeared. Back at his base, he called Overhaul and told him that the deal was done. Overhaul congratulated him and sent the money to him. Zeiram then smiled as he found what could be a useful ally in the future. And with that, his hat began to laugh. "Let's make a deal. At Yue, the heroes are a mess trying to figure out who this mysterious man that had defeated something that supposedly even Almight was not gonna be able to beat." Aizawa had told them that he recognized the man as the same person who gave him a concussion months back. After Niza heard what this mystery man had done, and the fact he seemed to ignore the students until they attacked him, he decided to look into this, and then called a meeting to inform the staff. "Okay, I have discovered from how he acts that our mystery man is probably an assassin," Niza stated. "After all, he didn't care to attack anyone who wasn't on his hit list. I also looked into this person after and found out he calls himself Zeiram. He is apparently now the best assassin in the world after only being one for about a year. Also, after many studying, I found out that there was a file that was wiped off the computers from the Teden Tepadi raid. All I could salvage was the name of the file, and it was Project Zeiram." "So you're saying this Zeiram could actually have been an experiment that escaped?" Vlad King shouted. "I believe so, and if he is, we must be extra careful, for who knows how many quirks he has," Niza said. "You are all dismissed." A few weeks back, right after the USJ incident, a portal opened in a nice little bar, and out came Shigaraki followed by Kurojairi. Shigaraki looked up to an old TV that said audio only on the screen and shouted, "It's not fair, some random guy showed up, killed most of the men and beat Noma like it was nothing. I thought All Might was gonna be the most of our problems." "Well, apparently it is not, Tamura, but don't be discouraged, we'll just try again. Gather up your forces and the next time, the heroes will know to fear you, Tamura Shigaraki," a voice coming from the screen said. "But first, I need to get rid of someone who is in Tartarus. Kurojairi, call Jiren and tell him to find someone who can break in and kill that man." "Yes, master," Kurojairi said. If something has these things, it means it's taking place before the rest of the chapter. Now we see Zeiram walking with a strangely dressed man who was smoking. He led him to the bar that was mentioned earlier. Upon entering, Shigaraki instantly recognized the man and charged at him, of course, though Kurojairi put a portal in front of him before he could do anything. "That's the man that attacked us, what is he doing here?" Shigaraki shouted. "Jiren, why did you bring someone who apparently tried to kill my student?" the voice from the screen said. You said you wanted someone that could break into Tartarus. Here's the best assassin in the world, Zeiram stated. Now I'll leave you guys to discuss. And with that, Zeiram left. So, what's the job? Zeiram asked. I want you to break into Tartarus and kill a man I had made a deal with. See, he didn't hold up his end of the bargain, so I want him eliminated. The man I want you to kill, his name is Putabe, the voice from the screen said. Right when Zeiram heard that name, he finally knew who he was supposed to have been shipped to, and the fact he gets to kill the bastard who did this to him and get paid for it. What the villains didn't notice was a certain red-winged hero heard them, but because of the fact he couldn't decide whose side he was on, he decided to tell the heroes about hearing the conversation but not the location of their base. Now we see Nizu, Almight, and Aizawa in front of Tartarus. The guards let them in, and led them to the cell of Putabe. What do you heroes want? Putabe asked. We want you to tell us everything about the Zeiram project, Nizu said. And why should I tell you? Because that creation of yours got hired to kill you, Aizawa said. The moment Aizawa finished, Putabe's face turned from one of arrogance to one of pure fear. It's no use, there is no way to stop him. He was made to defeat even All Might and Endeavor working together, and I don't know anything about it, only the name and what it was gonna be used for, Putabe told truthfully. Not even his weakness? All Might asked. He doesn't have one as far as I know. He is Killing Machine, an immortal monster. You should all just give up and let me die, nothing will stop him. We can't do that, we are heroes after all, All Might shouted. I'll have a talk with the warden to put more guards and to maybe have some pro-heroes too, Nizu said. And with that they left, and Nizu made some calls. A few days after, we see Zeiram walking in front of Tartarus, and just walks up to the metal door blocking the way in, and jumps over it. Once inside, he has tendrils come out of his hat. They hook to the walls and shut off all cameras and defense systems. He then proceeds to go to Putabe's cell. But right when he gets to the floor, bullets start firing at him. Sadly, all they do is hit him, then fall on the ground, with him not even feeling them. He then looks at all the guards, shaking in fear. He grabs one, kills him, observes the man's gun, then integrates it into his right hand, turning it into a giant gun. He then mows down all the other guards, all that's left being bits and pieces of human flesh. After walking down more, he sees the pro-heroes Air Jet and Big Red Dot. Stop right there, villain! Air Jet shouted as he shot a giant blast of air at Zeiram. All the air did was push him by a centimeter. He just walked slowly to them. Big Red Dot shot a blast of water at him, but again it did nothing. He just kept walking towards them, their attacks doing nothing till he grabbed both by the neck. Want to know why I didn't even run? It's 'cause I don't have a reason to fear you, so why should I rush things? As he finished, he stabbed his claws into their throats, and let them choke to death. After he was done, he punched right through the glass wall to Putabe's cell. I've come here to kill you, Putabe. Just get it over with. Oh no, you misunderstand, I'm gonna make your death slow and painful. He then grabbed Putabe and stabbed one of his weapons through his right wrist to the wall, then did that to all his limbs, sticking him to the wall. He then started punching him in the face over and over till all his teeth and his nose were broken, then he ripped out the guy's left eye, the tendon tearing as he screams in pain. Afterwards, Zeiram then kicks the guy in the chest till about 5 ribs are broken. I will now relieve you of your pain, Zeiram says. He then rips the guy's stomach open while at the same time decapitates him. Zeiram then takes the man's head but leaves the rest there, pinned to the wall, laughing the entire time he leaves into the night. Apprentice. We find Zeiram walking on buildings, in a dark night looking for his next prey, which happens to be a lesser-known hero by the name of Death Arms. After hours of searching, he found the hero's house. Without anyone noticing, he quickly slipped in and looked for the hero's bedroom. Once found, he quietly, without a sound, went up to the hero, lifted up his hand, a glimmering object within his grasp, and plunged it into the man's heart. After the deed was done, he left to acquire his payment from the League of Villains. You see, after they saw his potential, they started to hire him for getting rid of people that would bother them in the future. When he got back to their base, he saw that it was a mess and Shigaraki looked pissed and was bleeding from his wrist. Once they noticed he arrived, the voice on the screen talked. "I know you just got back from the mission we sent you on, but we were wondering if you could kill another man for us?" "Who is the scum you want me to slaughter?" Zeiram requested. "The hero killer, Stain. You see, he just attacked Tamura, and while Tamura wants to send an attack at Hosa City, I want you to go kill the man who harmed him. It shall be done, of course, with payment." And with that, Zeiram walked through the portal that Kurogyari provided. After entering, he realized he had wound up in an alleyway that was abandoned of any life. He quickly though sensed that there were 5 lifeforms in the alley a block away. He went to check it out, and he saw what looked to be Yui's students. He decided to ignore them and started walking away, that is until he saw his quarry with them, even if in battle. So he starts to walk slowly into the alley. Once he walked a good enough distance, the hero killer seemed to notice him. "You there? If you're just another fake hero, leave before I kill you too," Stain announced. But once the students saw Zeiram, they instantly started to panic in their heads. Meanwhile, Zeiram just casually walked past them, right up to the hero killer. The hero killer jumped up and slashed through Zeiram's head. "Ha, if that's all you had, you're a fool." But as he finished, he looked back to his weapon and realized that the sword had completely shattered. Zeiram turned around, and there wasn't even a cut on him. Then before the hero killer could blink, he was being held by him. "I have been sent to kill you, but since you have interested me, I will make your death painless." Zeiram morphed his hand into a gun and shot a bullet right through the hero killer's head. "My job here is done, time to go." But then his entire bottom half froze in ice. He looked at Todoroki, then just broke the ice by walking. Bakugo jumped at him and released an explosion into his face, but the creature grabbed him by the wrist and threw him at Todoroki. Ida then tried to attack him, but Zeiram didn't even feel any of the kicks that he did, and just whacked him so hard that he launched into a building and made a crater. Zeiram then just jumped away before any of them could try to catch him. After the hero killer had died, news had spread fast about his life story and people around Japan took interest in his ideals and his morals, and of course they went to the group associated with him, the League of Villains. Zeiram was again walking on buildings when he felt a temperature change nearby. Walking a few more blocks, he saw in an alleyway a man with crazy black hair and stapled burnt skin on him. The man was cornered by a bunch of thugs and was burning them in a beautiful blue flame. Zeiram just watched as the man was burning the criminals to ash, until one of them stabbed him in the leg. As the thug was about to make a final blow, Zeiram jumped down and slammed his foot to the back of the man's skull. The moment the man's head came in contact with the concrete, Zeiram's foot went through the man's occipital bone back of the skull. He then walked up to the fallen warrior. "What are you gonna do, kill me, after all I've heard the stories about you?" the mystery man said. "Now why would I do that to someone I am impressed by?" And when he said that, the man's eyes opened in surprise. "Yes, I see great potential in you as an assassin. Your quirk is very effective, but you don't have the proper skill. So would you like to become my apprentice?" Zeiram asked. "If so, can I get the name of the man I will be training?" he offered as he gave the man his hand. The man accepted his offer and while being pulled up said, "The name's Dabi. And thanks for taking me in, you actually are someone I look up to, hearing about you is what pushed me on," the man, now named Dabi, said. After helping him up, they both walked off into the night, with the last thing being heard was the laughter of both of them as the ashes of people laid in the alley. Infiltrate. It has now been about 2 months since Zeiram took Dabi as his apprentice, and his fighting skills have changed exponentially. He now knows how to read people's moves better, and can survive longer in physical combat. Zeiram didn't pull any stops with him. He made sure that he knew that if he didn't go through this training correctly, and also didn't try to dodge in sparring, he was a goner. Dabi had learned when sparring with him that the man wouldn't care if he killed him, and that just pushed him to try harder. And after the 2 months of almost non-stop training, Zeiram decided that he was ready for his first mission. "Dabi, I have decided to give you your first mission. You must infiltrate the League of Villains, and tell me everything you find about them," Zeiram stated. But why aren't they your allies? They hire you a lot after all, Dabi stated. They may have hired me on numerous occasions, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't betray us for their own needs or if they saw us as no more use, Zeiram explained. So go now, you must prove to me that I chose right for you to be my apprentice by completing your mission. I will not fail, master. Dabi then left to go figure out a way to get in. He decided to start with an info broker by the name of Zeiram, since Zeiram had told him that the guy knows a lot, and Zeiram is in debt to Zeiram, so Dabi now knows an easy path to find information. Now all he has to do is find the guy. After days of looking, he finally found the well-stoic man in a casino. Dabi walked up to the counter that the sly-looking fellow was at and sat next to him. You're Zeiram, right? I was wondering if you knew anything about the League of Villains. Who's asking, and why you want to know? Zeiram replied. I'm Dabi, and I was wishing to join the group that Stain had allied himself with. At hearing the fact that Dabi idealized Stain, even if he was lying, made Zeiram peak in happiness, and it was then that Dabi knew he got him. You're in luck. I am taking another person who wants to join them in 2 days. You can come then, just meet me at this spot. Dabi did as was told and arrived there at the time he was supposed to. He saw Zeiram and what looked to be a high school girl with blonde hair and fangs. As he got closer to them, the girl ran up to him and started talking about drinking his blood. Even though he was a little creeped out by this, he kept a calm and emotionless face on. Zeiram then led them to what looked to be an abandoned warehouse. This is the place, not very impressive, Dabi stated. Just wait till we get inside. Upon entering, the place looked like a fancy bar, with cushioned stools and an old-fashioned TV in the corner with the words, audio only, on the screen. Dabi also observed that there were 2 other people in the room. One was Kurojiiri, and the other was the man-child that we all know and love. I brought 2 people that would like to join your cause. Hi, I'm Toga, and I'd love to help murder people for you. And I'm Dabi, and I'd like to join the organization that recruited Stain. Kurojiiri, I don't like these 2, make them leave, Tamura said while glaring at Dabi. Now Tamura, these people can be essential to your plan, especially the fire user, Kurojiiri mentioned. Fine, welcome to the League of Villains. You will be working with the other members of the Vanguard Action Squad, also known as our elite. Dabi inwardly smiled as he realized how easy it was to get in. After talking more with Toga, he went on his way back to him and Zeiram's base. When he arrived, Zeiram wasn't there, so he assumed that his master was on a mission. Speak of the devil, we see Zeiram jumping across buildings after his target, a villain who goes by the name of Chimera. The hybrid keeps running from Zeiram, but it's only a matter of time. After about 15 minutes of running, Zeiram grabs the man's tail and throws him so hard, he smashes through the building behind them and lays in the alleyway motionless. As Zeiram moved towards the fallen man, he quickly turned giant and blasted a giant laser out of his mouth, destroying everything in a 5-block radius. Ha! You think you could just knock me out with one attack? You're sorely mistaken. Oh, I knew it wouldn't. The villain's smug face quickly turned to one of terror as our resident assassin walked out without even a burn mark. Before the villain could even fully comprehend the situation, Zeiram was right in front of him and stabbed one of his knives into Chimera's throat, choking him to death. Zeiram quickly got his money and arrived at home to find Dabi there. I take it your mission was a success. It sure was. Of course it would have been easier with the intel you know about them, but I know this is a test for me, so I got in. You did, and now I want you to figure out all their plans and tell me them, got it? Yes, sir, Dabi shouted as he then went to bed. As Dabi left, the face on Zeiram's hat smiled, then cackled loudly into the cold night air. Welcome to the family. Right now we see Dabi sitting on a stool in the League of Villains bar, drinking a tequila while waiting with the other villains for Shigaraki to arrive. Speaking of the devil, Shigaraki walks into the room and looks around to make sure everyone is here. Once he counted and had everyone, he decided to explain the plan. The UA students are having some sort of camping trip. We will make a surprise attack on them on their 3rd day there. When you do attack, there is one student I want captured, Katsuki Bakugo. Make that 2, Dabi interrupts. I owe a man something and he wants a student there too, Fumikage Tokoemi. And why should I have this commanded? The man is very dangerous, wouldn't want to get on his bad side. Besides, you owe him too. Fine, looks like you guys will capture both, just don't mess it up. Bakuga and the others were in the cabin having dinner after a grueling day of training. They apparently though still had to do something called the test of courage. Basically, the 1B students have to try to scare the 1A students. As the scaring commences far away in the forest, we see the villains getting ready to attack. Come on, let's go already! A person wearing a white mask and black cloak shouts. Be patient, we will wait to strike. Another man in a yellow-tailed coat, top hat, wore a smiling white mask and held a cane said. Actually, we will strike now, make sure to show them no mercy, and capture our targets, Dabi said with a deranged smile. As he finished talking, he lit the forest on fire. We see a little kid walking around in the mountain when the villain in the black cloak walks up behind him. Hey kid, mind if we switch outfits? The man says as he throws off his costume to reveal a blonde guy with a weird-looking left eye. But before he could even lay a hand on the kid, an explosion hit him in the face. You stay away from him, you bastard! Bakuga shouted as he flew in. Oh yeah, and what are you gonna do? This you bastard! As Bakuga launched another explosion, the villain covered himself in muscle tissue. As the smoke cleared, the villain punched Bakuga into the cliffside, then rammed into him, breaking a rib or two of his. After that, he punched Bakuga in the face right as he blasted the villain in the chest, causing them to both fall over in pain. You're good kid, but I'm sadly not allowed to kill you, so I'll just kill the runt and then take you with me. The villain turned towards the kid and threw a punch, but Bakuga moved faster and blocked it. Why are you protecting me, after I treated you like trash? The kid shouted while crying. Because I made a promise. Huh. I made a promise after my friend disappeared that I will never let a child go missing or die on my watch ever, and I'll be damned if I let it happen now. Bakuga shouted as he put all his strength into one hit and blasted the villain so hard that the wall the man slammed into made a crater, and the villain was knocked out. Bakuga didn't have any time for breathers, so he quickly ran to find his other classmates. But as he was running, he heard the sound of something in the trees, and when he looked up, a flash of light shined in his face. Meanwhile, the other students were dealing with other villains. Todoroki and Shinso didn't have any problems since Shinso just mind-controlled the villain known as Moonfish and made him attack the villain known as Mustard, causing them both to get knocked out. Then Uraraka and Ajiri had a hard time dealing with Toga. Hello, you must now be my new friends. How sweet, now let me cut you up. Toga says as she pins Ajiri to a tree and cuts her tongue. Let her go. Uraraka shouts as she tries to touch Toga to make her float. Toga jumped out of the way, then pinned Uraraka to the ground. She then used this container with a needle in it to stab into her and suck out her blood. But as Toga was about to stab her with another one, she got hit by a shadow. Ow, damn, looks like more kids are arriving. Well, it was nice to meet you new friends, but I got to go. Toga proceeded to run away. Tokoyami, Shoji, Shinso, and Todoroki came in and helped Uraraka and Ajiri stand up. Are you two okay? Shoji asked. Yeah, but where's Tokoyami? As Ajiri finished talking, the rest realized that Tokoyami just somehow vanished. Then the villain in the fishtail suit and the top hat landed on a tree. Sorry for jumping in, but I had to take this, the villain said as he pulled out 2 blue marbles that on the inside showed Tokoyami and Bakuga. He then put them in his pocket and started jumping away. Todoroki shot a glacier of ice, but the villain jumped over it. Shinso kept trying to hypnotize him, but it seems the villain knew, as he wasn't answering anything that Shinso said. Quickly though, Ajiri wrapped her tongue around the villain's leg as Uraraka made her, Shinso, and Shoji float above the villain, then dropped them. As they landed on the ground, they came face to face with Dabi, Toga, and another villain with a white and black outfit. There were also 2 villains, one wearing a costume similar to Stain and has reptile skin. The other was wearing an island vacation shirt, sorry I don't know what they're called, and sunglasses. They both left through portals. Wait, I know those kids, who are they? The 2 personalities of the white and black suited villain shouted. Compress, get up and let's go. Dabi shouted to the villain under the students as he shot fire at them. The students just barely dodged the attack, and then Todoroki shot glaciers of ice at the white and black suited villain. The criminal just simply skipped out of the way and sliced the glaciers in half with some kind of metal, sharpened tape measurer. "Toga, twice leave now, me and Compress will follow," Dabi shouted. They both nodded as they also jumped in a portal. Then Dabi kept shooting fire at the students so they couldn't get close, but before Compress could make it to Dabi, Shoji hit him so hard he dropped the marbles out of his hand and Shoji caught them. "I got them," Shoji shouted. Kurogyri opened another portal behind Dabi and Compress. Dabi walked in while Compress stood right in front of it and lightly chuckled. "Time to finish the show," he shouted as he snapped his fingers and the two marbles that Shoji grabbed turned into pieces of Todoroki's ice. The students' eyes turned to shock as they looked back at the villain who was taking his mask off. "Usually when someone shows you something, it's 'cause they have something else to hide," Compress said as he opened his mouth and showed both marbles on the tip of his tongue. He then put his mask back on, leaned back and started fading into the portal. But before he could go all the way in, a laser hot at him for the student Aoyama was hiding in the bushes. Right as it was about to hit him, the hulking figure known as Zeiram landed right in front of its path and deflected it back at Aoyama. It just barely missed him, but before he could react, Zeiram sliced him diagonally from the waist up in half, his right half sliding off his left half as Zeiram went in the portal after Compress finished going through. The students left heartbroken as one of their members had fallen, and two were captured. When they popped out the other side of the portal, Shigaraki was surprised to see Zeiram there. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to collect my debt, which you got for me." That was when Shigaraki realized that the debt Dabi owed was to Zeiram. Compress released the people. After Compress snapped, causing them to turn back to normal, Zeiram picked up Tokoemi and left to one of the rooms in the base. While that happened, Bakugo was chained up. When Tokoemi woke up, he looked around and noticed that he was in an almost completely pitch-black room. He realized that for some reason he wasn't chained up at all, and then he heard footsteps. He looked in front of him and saw the monster that had murdered all those villains at the USJ. He backed up in fear till he hit a wall. "Don't be afraid, I'm not gonna hurt you, I just want you to join me." "And why would I do that?" Tokoemi shouted. "Before you decide, weren't you treated like crap most of your life? Did you actually have any friends at school that weren't just acquaintances?" "And no. How many actual friends did you have?" "Oh, one." Tokoemi stuttered as the image of the green-haired boy popped into his mind. "Izuku Midoriya was your one true friend, right?" Tokoemi's face quickly turned to shock. "How did you KN?" Zeiram bent down to Tokoemi's level then said, "It's nice to see you again, Toko-chan." "Izuku," he stuttered while realizing the beast in front of him was his missing friend. "Yes, it's me. Now before we discuss this more again, answer me this. If you have paid attention, how many actual mutant-type quirk people, and I mean full mutant, not just adding stuff like engines, are heroes? Barely any. The only one people can even really name is Gang Orca, but otherwise none." "He's right," Tokoemi thought in his head. "So why not help me fix it? Come on, join the family," Zeiram stated as he gave his hand to him. Tokoemi smirked as he took it. "I'll join." "Good, then you can probably guess what I want you to do." "You want me to infiltrate UA?" "That's correct, so sorry but I'm gonna have to knock you out." As Zeiram finished, he punched Tokoemi hard enough to knock him out but not cause serious damage, then chained him up and put him beside Bakugo. "I'm gonna leave him here with you, since I trust you people." "That's fine, also my master wanted to meet you in person," Shigaraki said as Kurogyri opened a portal. Zeiram walked in, and as he got through, the portal closed. He noticed that he was in what looked to be a lab with a man sitting in a chair. The man seemed to have many cords attached to him, and had no facial features except a mouth. "So you're Zeiram. It's a pleasure to meet you in person, please come closer," the man said. As Zeiram was in arm's length though, the man quickly stood up and grabbed him by the face. "Ha ha, now all your powers will be mine." But as All for One finished talking, he realized that nothing was happening, he couldn't feel any power. Wah! But before he could finish, The face on Zeiram's had stretched out to reveal a peach-colored pulsing neck. The face's mouth opened with sharp teeth and bit into All for One's neck, slitting his throat. "Oh, All for One said as he was coughing blood. Then Zeiram grabbed one of his weapons and decapitated him. Zeiram's hat proceeded to laugh insanely as he stood over the dead body of All for One. Rescue. Right now we see the League of Villains interrogating Bakugo to try to join their ranks. Come on, people treat you as a loose cannon and a monster, plus you don't seem to care if you killed anyone. Why not just join us? Shigaraki asked him. Like I would ever join you bastards, I'm gonna become the #1 hero and nothing is gonna change that, you hear me? Shigaraki frowned in anger and started to scratch his neck. Looks at Kurojiri and signals him to warp Bakugo and Tokoemi somewhere. But before they can do that, there is a knock on the door. Pizza delivery. The villains look at the wall questionably, then All Might punches right through the wall. Stop right there, villains! All Might shouts. As Spinner and Twice were about to attack, Roots wrapped around all the villains as the hero Kamui Woods came in. It would be best if you didn't resist us, Kamui Woods shouted. As he finished, Dobby started to have his fire come out of his hands, but before he could burn the Roots, another hero zoomed in and kicked him in the back of the head, knocking him out. Didn't you hear him? We said for you all to cooperate with us. Atsuhiro Seiko, Shuichi Iguchi, Kenji Hikishi, Himiko Toga, Dobby, Tamura Shigaraki, Jin Babaigawara, and Kurojiri. It may have been tough, but the police spent many nights to find out all your identities. You shouldn't have underestimated us, the old hero known as Gran Torino stated. I'm sorry we took so long, young Bakugo and Tokoemi. You were probably scared, but you held strong. All Might boasted as he looked at both of them. Kurojiri, teleport the Noma here, Shigaraki shouted. I'm sorry, Tamura, but I can't seem to be able to. But before he could finish, something stabbed him, making him faint. Don't worry, I just scrambled his insides. He won't be awake for a while, the hero Edgeshot says. Now Shigaraki, tell me. Where is your master? All Might shouted. You're the reason this society is bucked up. You're the reason I was left. You're the reason that people think that everything will be solved by heroes. I hate you. Just as Shigaraki finished his statement, something landed behind the heroes and police, and it made a shockwave. Then out of the cloud of dust appeared Zeiram. So, who's ready to die? Let's rewind a bit, shall we? 5 minutes earlier at a warehouse in Kamino, we see the hero Empty Lady just kick the wall down. Then her, Tiger, Gang Orca, and Best Jeanist destroy or subdue all of the Noma that are created there. This is seriously boring. Why didn't we just let the police handle this and go with All Might? Empty Lady whines. You know the reason for that. We need to make sure all of these creatures are contained. Just then, as they were talking, they heard footsteps. Who goes there? Are you with the League? Gang Orca questions. Just then a head rolls in front of all of them. As they examine it closer, Tiger gasps as he realizes it's the head of his missing partner, Ragdoll. I deeply apologize for that, but she didn't have her quirk anymore, it seemed, and she would have been a nuisance, so I decided to get rid of her, a deep voice said. But as the heroes were about to react, a shock wave blasted past them and launched Best Jeanist and Tiger. You see, Zeiram had targeted Gang Orca since he has the thickest hide. He then trips Empty Lady on the way over and punches Gang Orca in the stomach. Luckily, Gang Orca saw the attack coming and was able to put his arms in the way to block it. The first to get up from the attack was Best Jeanist as he got his quirk ready and started to try to wrap the fabric on Zeiram's clothing around him, but nothing happened. What? It should work unless his outfit doesn't have any fabric. Zeiram then zoomed to Jeanist and wrapped his wrist around the fabric connecting to Jeanist's hand. After grabbing it, he pulls Jeanist towards him and keeps punching him till his head's bleeding. I'm sorry, but you're in my way, Zeiram says as he then punches a hole right through Jeanist. The shockwave from the hit shattered the ground in front of him, and Jeanist's eyes became devoid of emotion. As a sign of mercy, I won't kill the rest of you. Now if you excuse me, I have an apprentice to get. Zeiram then jumped into the air. Now back to where we left off. All the police aimed their guns at Zeiram, Do you really think that's gonna do anything to me? After hearing that, all the police put their weapons down. But then Endeavor hit Zeiram clean in the face. Of course, Zeiram actually caught it, and then he threw him. Just as he finished, Edge shot blasted at him. He caught the hero, and then All Might hit Zeiram in the back of the head. As Zeiram turned to look at All Might, Edge shots slithered out, and then Zeiram was hit by both him and Gran Torino. Zeiram blocked their next attack with his blades but was then hit in the back by Endeavor's flames. Then Zeiram back elbowed him but was then hit in the face by All Might. Zeiram fell to his hands and knees. "Give up, villain, it's over!" All Might shouts. "No, it isn't," Zeiram says as he stands up. Then before any of them can react, he punches All Might's face with all his strength, causing there to be nothing but a giant hole in the middle. The news helicopter people as well as everyone else watching gasped as they saw the number one hero get killed. Zeiram proceeded to zoom past Gran Torino and Edge shot and sliced their legs so they couldn't walk, but so it wouldn't be fatal. After that he jumped into the destroyed bar and cut all of Kamui Wood's roots apart, then knocked the hero out. "You there," he said to Compress. "Turn everyone into marbles." After Compress did as told, Zeiram picked him up as well as the rest of the league in their little blue containers. Then jumped away, fading into the night. Little birdie. In a giant building, which belongs to a massive company, we hear gunfire on the 15th floor. We see a guard shooting at something and then a giant black tendril stab through him. The person that killed the man wore a weird cone-shaped helmet where it had a point at the end where the mouth would be, and slanted lines on each side to see though. Then they wore a long black robe that was dragging on the ground behind them, with a bulletproof vest and combat boots hiding under it. The mystery man walks down the hallways as two more guards come out and point their guns at him. The man just looks at them, then two giant black wings come out of his back and slam them into the wall. The force kills them instantly. The villain keeps walking down the hallways and goes up to the next floor. When up there, he destroyed the lights and blocked out the windows, causing complete darkness. "Where the hell did he go?" shouted one of the men that were on this floor as they ran in. As the soldiers were looking around, the villain comes down from the ceiling behind one of them, opens his cloak, then wraps it around him. "Mmm." We can hear the man try to do as the villain chokes him, then snaps his neck. The other men quickly turn around as the villain lands back on the floor. But before they can shoot him, his cloak opens and a bunch of spikes that look to be made out of pure darkness shoot out and kill the rest of them. The villain keeps going to each floor, slaughtering all the guards till he reaches the final floor. When there, many people aimed guns at him, but he just had the two wings wrap around all of them. They then squeezed them till they exploded. After he was done, he busted through the door to the main office. There, he saw the owner of this company and quickly zoomed towards him and grabbed the man by his head. "What the hell? How did you get in here and where are my men?" the man shouted. "I killed all your men, and now I am here to kill you." As the villain finished talking, he stabbed the beak of his mask into the man's neck. After it reached the man's neck bone, it stabbed into it, and the villain twisted his head, completely snapping it in two. After he was done, he painted in blood the yin part of yin and yen. Then the criminal walked away. Later the villain arrived at a busted down place, and when he walked in was face to face with Zeiram. "Good job, Tokoemi," Zeiram stated. The criminal took off his helmet to reveal to be the bird boy we all know and love. "Well, it was cause of all your teachings." At the UA we see Nizu Aizawa, an ectoplasm in Nizu's office. "So what have you called us for, Nizu?" Aizawa inquired. "If you haven't noticed, there's a new assassin on the loose," Nizu stated. "The worrying thing about this new one is that we only know two things about him so far, the latter one being the worrying part." "And what is that, Nizu?" Ectoplasm asked. "The first one is the assassin's name, Mikaboshi, which is the name of the god of darkness and the stars. The second one is that from what we can tell from the dead bodies of his victims, he is associated with Zeiram, since there have been dead bodies at the same time in the same place as Mikaboshi. That could only be done by that man." When they heard that this new assassin is working with the man that killed both All for One and All Might, they were terrified. a few days before when Zeiram was still with the League of Villains to make sure they were okay. "You better tell me why the hell it says on the news that you killed Master," Shigaraki shouts as he glares at Zeiram and is about to kill him. "Tamura, do you really believe the heroes wouldn't lie about how someone died to cover up their mess?" After hearing this, Shigaraki started to calm down. "You see, when me and your master were conversing, we didn't hear the heroes come in and the one known as Best Genius used his fabric manipulation quirk to cut your master's head off. If it makes you feel better, I avenged his death by killing the man that did it." Shigaraki seemed satisfied when he heard that answer. Zeiram moved his finger to show Dabi he wants to talk with him in private. "Yes, sir?" Dabi asks when they walk into another room. "I just want to tell you that Tokoyami has joined us, so we are both gonna be training him. After all, he has to be ready in at most a week. Got it?" "Yes, sir." Now back to our original time, we see Zeiram walking along the alleys quietly finding his next target. After he had killed Almight, people have been hiring him more and paying more for him, since he is now considered one of the most powerful and the most deadly people in the world. As he sneaks through, he finds the hero, Crimson Riot. Zeiram just jumps behind him, making his presence well known to the hero. Crimson Riot turns around and upon seeing the villain starts shaking in fear. But even so, he charges at our assassin. His hair hardens as he keeps charging, but Zeiram just grabs him by the head and slams him into a wall. As Crimson Riot is getting up, Mikaboshi jumps down and slices his head off. "Hey boss, thought I'd join." "Of course you would. Well, let's just collect my payment, then you should go back home so you're not suspected." "On it, boss," Mikaboshi says as he puts his katana away. They then both walk away in darkness, the only thing behind them being the decapitated body of the hero. Overhauled. Right now we see Zeiram looking over at all the heroes and police gathering in front of what is supposedly the headquarters of the Shai Hasaikai. He just observed as the giant villain by the name of Rikiya Katsu came. The villain was dealing with the pro-hero Ryukyu and the hero trainees Uravati and Froppy. Zeiram just observed them and studied all their quirks. After he deemed it fit to move on, he sneaked into the compound without the heroes and Yakuza noticing since they were distracted with each other. He thought it was hilarious how dense they were, but decided to focus instead. As he was walking through different corridors, he started to feel the ground under him move. It seems they have finally noticed me," Zeiram says to himself. "What are you doing here? I'll just lead you to where those other two heroes are," Mimic says as he has part of the wall shoot out and hit Zeiram down a path. When he finally got to the end, he looked around and noticed that he was in a giant empty room. He looked over and noticed the pro-hero Fat Gum. He also noticed the hero trainee Red Riot in a crater in the wall. Then he notices two members of the Yakuza, Kendo Rappa and Hekiji Tengai. As he sees Rappa about to punch Fat Gum, so he just decided to interfere. He blocked the punch that Rappa threw with his arm, then targeted Tengai. He threw a fist, punching right through his shield, and making his head go flying. "Crap, well, didn't need that guy anyway. But from what I hear, you're top dog, so let's fight, shall we?" Rappa states. "You shouldn't fight. You would die anyway," Zeiram says as he looks at Fat Gum. Fat Gum nods, understanding that if he got in the way he would probably perish. "Well, let's get to it already," Rappa says as he charges at Zeiram. The villain punches Zeiram in the chest and the face, but it does nothing. The villain just keeps punching over and over without taking a break. That is until Zeiram throws a hook right at the guy's face, hitting him and making him off balance. While Rappa was recovering, Zeiram uppercut his jaw, then kicked him in the stomach. Rappa threw another punch at him, but he just caught his hand and then punched him in the gut. After that, he hit Rappa in the face with another hook, then pulled him towards him and kneed Rappa in the balls. Rappa fell on his knees, but Zeiram picked him back up and punched him right in the face, making his nose bleed. He then pulled Rappa's arm and slammed his elbow down on it, breaking it. Zeiram then kicked Rappa's right knee, breaking that as well. Rappa, with barely any energy, tried to throw a punch at Zeiram with his one good arm, but he just kicked it so hard his hand bones shattered. After that, Zeiram punched him in the stomach so hard he coughed up blood. As Rappa was down, Broken, he looked up and saw the deathly glare in Zeiram's eyes at him. Well, at least my last fight was with the strongest man I could ever fight, Rappa said as he coughed up more blood. You're right. Well match. After Zeiram said this, he uppercut Rappa so hard that his head detached from his body, as well as his bottom jaw shattering, causing Zeiram's fist to be on the inside of his skull. After he was done, he looked at the two heroes. I noticed that there was a medical room that way, if you need it. After Zeiram told them, he decided to keep moving ahead. Again, after walking for a while, he heard yelling and what sounded like the ground moving. In another room, we see the hero trainee Lemillion fighting the villain Overhaul. Just stand still, you bastard! Overhaul yells as he transforms the ground into a bunch of spikes at the hero. Lemillion, however, just goes through them as he moves. He then hits Overhaul in the face, making him drop a container with Quirk erasing bullets. One of them, however, rolls towards a minion of Overhaul by the name of Shin Nemoto. Boss wants me to shoot him, he trusts in me. But how am I supposed to hit him if he'll just make it go through him? Wait, the girl. He'll get hit to protect the girl. The villain points his gun at the little girl behind the hero, and fires the bullet at her. Lemillion, seeing this, dives in front of her. Don't worry, everything will be fine. As he says this, there is a bang sound. The hero's Eraserhead, Sir Night Eye, and the hero trainee Dynamite run in to see Lemillion holding the little girl while standing. Mirio, what happened? Sir Night Eye shouts. Well, sir, he happened. Lemillion, as he points in a direction, and we see Zeiram. Okay, let's play back to see what happened. We see the bullet flying at Lemillion, and then we hear a bang sound. Zeiram instantly zooms in front of it, and before they can see anything, he catches it. Afterward, he zooms to being behind Overhaul. You! Overhaul says, startled as he looks behind him. Zeiram backhands him, causing Overhaul to launch into a wall and fall unconscious. That was when the heroes ran in. Stop right there! Aizawa shouts as he glares at him. Sir Night Eye, consumed by rage from seeing the assassin that killed his mentor, attacks him. Zeiram, though, just catches his hand. Of course, Night Eye uses his quirk, but his eyes immediately widen as he looks at him. How is this possible? You don't even show up in the future? Simple, I move faster than your eyesight can see, Zeiram states as he throws Night Eye at Aizawa. After he does that, he picks up Nemoto and jumps through the roof, breaking it in the process. After the fiasco of the invasion, they imprison all the villains and start taking them to Tartarus. But the one that is carrying Overhaul is driving steadily till they notice that the truck in front of them has Tamura Shigaraki on it. The back of the truck opened to reveal Dabi. As he shot fire at them, the hero's snatch transformed his body to sand and blocked it. It's the League of Villains, the hero shouted. Dabi jumped out of the car and shot more fire at the hero, and while he was distracted with it, Compress turned him into a marble. There, now that that's done. The villains quickly kill the drivers and then pull Overhaul out of the truck, still tied up. Which one is the finished product? Whatever, I'll take both, Shigaraki states as he picks up 2 containers, both carrying special drug bullets. Those are mine, Overhaul states. You know I really hate you, but I'm not gonna kill you. After all, I have something better in mind. As Shigaraki finishes talking, Compress turns one of Overhaul's arms into a marble, while Shigaraki decays and cuts off his other one. And now you're nothing. A helpless man who is forced to sit in the sidelines as your dreams are washed away. Overhaul then yells in sorrow as Shigaraki and the others leave. Back to Zeiram, we see Nemoto finally come to his senses, as he then looks at the man in front of him. What do you want? Nemoto asks. I want you to join me. I will not, I am loyal to Overhaul. Let's talk about that. You consider yourself his left hand, yet he planned on leaving you there. The only person he wanted to leave with him that he didn't need was chronostasis. Also, did you ever use your quirk on him? No. So how do you know if he needed or even wanted you? Nemoto realized he was correct. He was a fool thinking Overhaul cared. But I can use you. You mean something to me. So how about joining the team? Sure, let's go, boss. They both then walked away laughing. Under the hood. In Fukuoka at the agency of the number 2 hero Hawks, we see him and Endeavor discussing to each other about plans to find what could possibly be a Noma. So you're saying that you want me to help you find what is only a rumor? Endeavor questioned. Hey, it may only be a rumor, but it could also be true, so we might as well check it out. Just as Hawks finished talking, there was the sound of something flying at them with great speed. Then the entire wall of the room that the 2 heroes were in got destroyed as a giant humanoid creature came in. The thing was about as big as Zeiram, had a thin body, and wore nothing but shorts and what looked to be a ripped hood. Who here is strongest? The creature asked. When the creature stopped talking, Endeavor blasted a giant fireball at it, launching the creature out of the building. When the thing flew out, jet blasts came out of his back, keeping him in the air. Even though it had its entire chest skin burned off as well as one of its hands, it quickly regenerated them. The thing then turned its left hand huge, grabbed Endeavor, and threw him all the way to the other side of the building. If you see these around words, and I'm not saying it in just narration, it means that the character is thinking. This Noma is regenerating. Never saw the gray ones do that. Does that mean the black are more advanced? No, this one is different cause this Noma can think. Endeavor thought. Come on, show me that you're strongest. Fine, you want me to show you strongest. Then Endeavor shot many fire strands out of his fingers, then when they hit the target, expelled them. When the smoke cleared from the blast, the Noma flew out, but was missing his arms and legs. Just then, 6 gray Noma shot out of the main Noma. The gray Noma were attacking the civilians, so Hawks decided to go help and left Endeavor to take care of the big guy. The Noma had talked about strongest. So that means he doesn't want anyone to get in between our fight. I don't know how many quirks this thing has, but holding back might prove fatal. As Endeavor was thinking this, the Noma fully regenerated. Fine, I'll hit you with enough heat that you'll be vaporized. Endeavor shoots a giant fireball out of his chest that completely disintegrates the Noma. Well, that's what you're led to believe, cause from the corner of Endeavor's vision he sees a hood falling in the air. He ripped his head off and tossed it out of range. Then a tendril came out of the base of the head, stabbing into Endeavor's eye. The hero fell to the ground unmoving and the Noma fully regenerated. The thing landed on the hero as it started to look around. Is there anyone stronger? Then a quake came behind them as something landed. I'm stronger, stated Zeiram as he appeared behind the creature. The Nomu instantly charged at Zeiram with its mouth open, so he just took out 2 of his blades and rammed them into the bottom of the Noma's jaw. Zeiram then kneed his weapons, causing them to go farther in, now going through the top of the head. This caused it so the Nomu couldn't open his mouth. Zeiram proceeded to kick the Nomu in the stomach, launching it into a building. The Nomu walked out and ripped the blades out of him. The thing then made its arm big, grabbed Zeiram and slammed him into the ground. As the creature was about to charge at him again, Zeiram's hand transformed into a gun and blew off all the Noma's limbs. He then ran up to the Noma, did a flip and axe kicked the Noma on the head into the ground. The Noma got up fully regenerated. It then spreaded these webbing-looking things out of his back, and flew into Zeiram. The Noma picked him up, flew up really high, then threw him back into the ground, causing a crater. As Zeiram was getting up, the creature landed in front of him, and then shot 2 tendrils. One went straight through Zeiram's left shoulder, while the other went through his right calf muscle. I'm strongest, you are weaker, the Noma said cockily. Zeiram without a word just got up. He then ran towards the Noma and punched the thing in the gut. He rammed his hand through the creature, then grabbed its spine with both his hands. Zeiram tore the Noma clean in half and threw the top half on the ground, rolling. He proceeded to keep ripping the bottom half into pieces, then walked over to the top half. The Noma tried to get up, but then he felt something get pushed against his head. When he looked up, he saw Zeiram with his gun hand pointed right at his brain. His eyes widened as he realized that Zeiram knew about his weakness. Any last words? Why your STR strongest? As the Noma finished his sentence, Zeiram fired a blast that destroyed the entire top half of the Noma's head, killing it. As Zeiram was about to leave, he dodges a feather that launches at him. He looks behind him to see Hawks, and notices that Endeavor is also standing. He was gonna ignore them, until someone else kicks him in the stomach. You know, usually I'd like a fair fight, but you're a tough villain, so I'm fine fighting you while you're injured, shouted the pro-hero Mirko. Zeiram hit her, but then some of Hawk's feathers stabbed into him. He couldn't move that fast cause one of his legs was injured. Endeavor shot a ball of fire at him, but he dodged then punched Hawks, causing the winged hero to stumble. Then before Zeiram could react, he was kicked in the chest by Mirko. She jumped out of the way, and Endeavor hit the exact same spot. Endeavor had ignited his fist beforehand, so when he hit Zeiram it went straight through him. Farther away we see Niz is sipping his tea as he's watching the fight through cameras he had hacked for this specific purpose. As he was enjoying himself and felt relieved that the assassin was dead, even if he was against killing a person no matter how deadly. But his enjoyment quickly turned to puzzled as he noticed sparks flying out of the wound. Upon closer examination he noticed that Zeiram's skin had moved out of the way of the hit, and underneath was an exoskeleton. He decided to look more into this. As the heroes started to calm down after killing Zeiram, what they failed to notice was the tendrils coming out of Zeiram's hat, and hooking to the concrete ground and the buildings near them. Back with Niz, he spit out his tea in surprise and his face quickly shifted to fear as he realized his mistake. The person in the suit wasn't Zeiram, that was a decoy. Zeiram is the hat. Just as Niz had made the realization, Zeiram shrieked as then he pulled himself off the robot husk, his tendrils that were around the robot pulling in. The heroes looked in surprise as Zeiram hooked himself into the ground. The two buildings beside them that Zeiram connected to started to move as they split off the ground and became two giant hands. Then the part of the street in front split off the rest and became a giant mouth with pillars as sharp teeth. The heroes tried to attack him, but they were not ready for this. The buildings just grabbed Hawks and Mirko, slamming them to the ground, while a giant tar tongue came out of the mouth. It covered Endeavor, and when Zeiram noticed that all of them were knocked out, detached himself from the objects. His long bug-like legs came out from the bottom of himself and he crawled away, back to his base to build a new body. Bloodbath. Right now we see Zeiram walking over to the new League of Villains base. When he got there he saw Toga and Dalby were laying on the couch. Then he noticed Compress and Twice were doing a fashion off, while Spinner is doing random shit. Kurogiri is just busy cleaning glasses and Shigaraki was nowhere to be seen. Zeiram walked past the rest of the members and went up to Shigaraki's room. Upon getting to the door he knocked gently. "Come in," said Shigaraki. "I noticed you weren't with the others, Tamura. Am I a good leader?" "Tamura, you have come this far, have you not? Besides, you have an interesting personality that is fit for a leader. Your game references and knowledge of them is astounding to me. Why do you even come? You're an assassin after all." "Because, even though you've basically used me, I feel the need to make you feel at home with someone." As Zeiram finished saying that, he hugged Shigaraki from behind. "Why is it that he gives me more comfort and calmness than Master ever did?" After Shigaraki thought of this, he smiled as he leaned into Zeiram. What he didn't notice was the crooked smile that Zeiram had while he was doing it. After just hours of sitting there, Zeiram told Shigaraki that he had to leave, as he got up and left. When he got out of there, he started to make his way to UA. At UA we see most of the staff in Niz's office as he was discussing what he had discovered. "After hacking into the cameras and watching the footage, I have discovered that Zeiram is actually the hat he is wearing and not the person himself." "So you're saying that the creepy human face on the hat is his actual face?" Vlad King shouted. "Yes, it also seems that his body that he uses is actually a robot that he disguises with his tendrils. The robot seems to be something of his own creation and is made of an unknown metal." After discussing about Zeiram for nearly 2 hours, Aizawa had enough and decided to leave. As he was walking home, he couldn't get the feeling off of him that someone was watching him, but brushed it off. Though HR probably should have listened to his instincts, for as he turned down another street, Zeiram tackled him. Aizawa got out of his grip and wrapped his capture tape around the assassin. "What do you want?" "Well, what I want is to kill you," Zeiram said as he ripped the capture tape, then tried to grab Aizawa. Luckily the hero was pretty fast and dodged. "Crap, I know I can't hurt him at all, so I just have to get away." Aizawa just kept dodging as they at some point somehow got onto a roof. Of course, Aizawa's luck had to run out. Zeiram grabbed him by the throat and lifted him into the air. "Why do you even want to kill me?" Aizawa said while slightly choking. "There are 4 people that could even remotely pose a threat to me. I've killed 2 of them, you're the 3rd. And who's the 4th, Shigaraki?" No. Tamura maybe could have made it on there, but he won't cause sense. All for One is gone. He needs a new father figure. I've become that figure. Of course it's only to manipulate him into not bothering me. The 4th is that blasted doctor that worked for All for One. Now bye-bye Eraserhead." As Zeiram finished saying that, he snapped the hero's neck. Back at his base we see a person with a black vest, fedora, plague doctor mask. He also wore a red scarf, gold metal cufflinks, black shoes, and last but not least a little spray thing sticking out of the tip of the mask. This is Shin Nemoto, or by his assassin alias, Veritas. "So Veritas, want to go get some revenge? Besides, I need to show an example to the world." Upon hearing this, Veritas looked at Zeiram and nodded. Next we see the 2 assassins standing right in front of Tartarus. Zeiram just goes up to the giant metal door and punches it. The force makes a dent in it, while ripping it off its hinges. It blasts across and breaks the wall behind it. The 2 men walk in. "You go to the 3rd floor, cell block 395 is where he should be. Afterwards meet me in the security room." Veritas nodded as he left down the path. After walking for a while he finally reached in front of the cell he was looking for. "I finally see you again." Meanwhile with Zeiram, we see him walk down the halls when he sees the villain Muscular. He broke the cell holding him, but before the villain could even say thank you Zeiram ripped him in half. Afterward he poured the man's blood on himself. He kept going through and killed the other villains that worked with the League but failed. Mustard he gave a quick death by punching right through his head. While Moonfish he ripped the guy's teeth out and then ate him. Back with Veritas we see him in front of the cell that holds Overhaul. "So Nemoto, are you here to break me out? 'Cause I got to say you did a good job getting in here." "You misunderstand Overhaul. You've used me for the last time. I have a new boss that cherishes me unlike you, but I wanted to get revenge for you manipulating me." Veritas pulled out a gun and put a bullet in Overhaul's skull. After that he walked to the security office to already see Zeiram there. "So what's the plan, boss? You see that vent? Spray your gas into that." Upon hearing that, Veritas twisted something in his mask and the metal thing coming out of the end released a green gas. The gas went into the vents and led to every hallway, filling every hall except the room they were in with gas. "I had said he needed to show people fear. Both heroes, villains, and civilians," Zeiram stated as he took out a lighter. He lit it then threw it into the vent. All the gas ignited and exploded, killing all the villains and people in the building. As Zeiram and Veritas walked out, there was body parts lying all over the place, as well as the place raining blood from the inside. They left, laughing insanely the whole way. Reckoning. We see Kurojiri talking with Shigaraki. "What do you mean it didn't work?" Shigaraki shouted. "Well, Tamura, it seemed that Master had other plans on who would be his successor," Kurojiri answered calmly. "So you're saying Master probably had other plans for me instead of successor?" "Looks like it, Tamura. Get out." "What?" "I said get out." Kurojiri backed up out of Shigaraki's room, closing the door on his way out. After leaving, he went back to the new bar. When he got behind the tavern, he slammed his head on it. "I can't believe this happened. And if Tamura isn't the person Master had in mind, then who?" This means flashback. We see All for One and Kurojiri in a room. "I have a servant of mine by the name of Gigantomachia. I had injected him with a substance that has the scent of who my successor will be. Just have him sniff something that has the scent of my successor, and he will go to them. If you give him the wrong one, however, he will go look for whoever is supposed to be my successor." "Yes, sir." I thought he had meant Tamura, but I guess I was wrong. We now see Kurojiri in front of Gigantomachia with one of the hands that Shigaraki wears. He gives it to him, as he starts to sniff it. "That is not the smell of new Master," What? That is not Master's successor. Me go find new master. With that, Gigantomachia left. Back in Shigaraki's room after Kurogiri left, we see him shake in anger. Shigaraki grabs his shelf with all his games on it and throws it over. He then starts tearing up his room, disintegrating the posters, throwing chairs around, and flipping his bed over. After that, he sat on his flipped-over bed and started to punch the wall. Before he could get any worse, he quickly picked up his phone and called Zeiram. Of course, he was crying while doing this. Yes, what is it, Tamura? See, could you sniff come over, please? I'll be right there. Zeiram quickly gets to the base and opens the door. He rushes to Shigaraki's room before even Kurogiri can notice him. When he gets into the room, he sees it a complete mess with Shigaraki sitting in a corner crying. What's wrong, Tamura? Zeiram asks as he pulls Shigaraki into a hug. Sensei never cared about me. He apparently never even planned for me to be his successor. He was just lying. Tamura, the man was a heartless bastard. Besides, you're still the leader. You are the most feared villain in the world. You shouldn't cry about that asshole not planning for you to be his original choice. You should prove to the dead bastard that you're better than what he had planned. After hearing that, Shigaraki started to stop crying as he looked up at Zeiram. Zeiram, see, can I call you Dad? Zeiram looked surprised but then switched it to a smile. Sure. Then thank you, Dad, for helping me, and you're right. I'll show that bastard that he was wrong. That's the spirit. Afterward, they just talked while playing video games happily. They played for hours, but at some point Zeiram had to leave. Shigaraki gave him a hug goodbye, and after he left the building he switched his fake smile off. Zeiram decided to take a detour and was walking in a forest. But as he did this, there was giant stomping. Zeiram looked to see a massive humanoid looking at him. Who are you exactly? I am Gigantomachia, and you are new master. But first you must prove if you can be fit to be new master. After the giant said that, his nails elongated as he swung at Zeiram. Zeiram jumped over the attack and uppercut the giant. The big man then grabbed him, but he anticipated this, so he had two blades out that stabbed into Gigantomachia's hands. The villain didn't seem to notice though, as he slammed him into the ground. When he got up, he looked around to notice that Gigantomachia was gone. Zeiram then felt a rumble under him, so he slammed all his force into the ground. He hit dead center, between the giant's eyes. Afterward, he pulled the big guy out then threw him. After he did that, he punched the massive man into his chest. The force launched him into a mountain. Gigantomachia quickly got out, ran over and hit Zeiram. He then stomped on Zeiram. He lifted his foot up, picked up Zeiram and threw him into his mouth. The giant smiled thinking he won, but then he felt his teeth breaking. Zeiram shattered the Gigantomachia's teeth, crawled out of his mouth, then punched the bastard in the eye. After that, he grabbed the man's left arm and dislocated it. Zeiram next grabbed Gigantomachia's right ankle and turned it 90 degrees, causing it to break. Zeiram had had enough with the big Galuta, so he punched the guy square in the nose so hard the man's neck went backwards. The force gave him whiplash and knocked him out from the trauma to his central nerve. Despite this monster attacking me, he does seem like he would be useful, so I'll wait. And there Zeiram sat, waiting for the big giant to hurry and wake up. After hours of waiting, it turned dark as Gigantomachia finally woke up. You knocked me out, and look to be barely scathed. You truly are worthy of being my new master. Good, then you will come with me to meet the others. Is there a name of your group, master? I'll tell you when we get there, for the others don't know about it yet either. After walking for a while we come to the warehouse, and upon inside we see the rest of the group. Dabi, Tokoyami, Namoto. This is Gigantomachia, the newest member to the group. He will be more of our muscle, so to speak. Also, I wanted to finally reveal to you all what our group will be called. We will now be known as the Abominate Assassin Society. Business. Zeiram was busy sitting in a couch chair in his base. He had decided to for once take a break since he has been doing mostly just work every day. He of course not just have everyone take a break, so Tokoyami and Namoto went out for assassin missions. While on the other hand Dabi is still with the League. While Zeiram just kept relaxing and being comfortable, he heard the footsteps of Gigantomachia coming near. The giant came up to Zeiram and kneeled in front of him. "What is it you need of me, master?" "I need you to go, locate Kidnaped, and kill him." "But sir, didn't he work for old master?" "That may be true, but he isn't worth being on our side. Besides, he might get in the way in the near future, so I want you to get rid of him." Meanwhile, in a lab in Hosu, we see all the scientists laying on the ground dead. Over them is the assassin Veritas. He keeps walking through the facility when two guards come out with guns. "Stop, villain." Veritas secretly pulls out two guns and shoots both in the throat. He walks past them and proceeds to the lower level. Throughout the entire place, Veritas killed many more guards, either by bullet, knife, or flame. The last man he killed in the hall screamed as he was ignited and burned to death. Nothing like the smell of burned human to start the morning. Veritas kicks the door in front of him open to see a scientist. "Who are you? What do you want?" "Nothing personal. I've just been hired to kill you, that's all." As Veritas finished talking, he ran up to the man and slit his throat. Before the man died, however, he stabbed him through the back of the skull. Mission accomplished. Now to go collect the pay. Now in a club, which is secretly a drug store, we see Mikaboshi going through the secret underground hallways of the facility. Four men go to attack him with knives, but he just pulls out high katana and slices their hands off. As they bleed from the wounds, he decapitates one. The second one he slices vertically in half, the third stabbed right through the chest, and the fourth was stabbed right through the hick. Mikaboshi kept going on his way, observing to make sure no one saw him. Any camera scene, he would either sneak past or cut out. Of course, there were people still walking around, so he still got seen sometimes. Right as he was turning the corner, a man pointed a gun to his head. As the person smiled cockily thinking he had won, Mikaboshi stabbed his beak into the end of the gun and flipped it out of the man's hand. After he did that, he caught the gun and then shot the guy in the heart. After many more fights, he finally made it to the main office. Mikaboshi had dark shadows slide under the door frame and just ripped the man in charge's head off. The one disturbing thing is that over the course of Mikaboshi's turn to the dark side, Dark Shadow had developed a taste for human flesh. We can see this by the bird eating the man's head. Mikaboshi didn't really care though, and so he leaves to collect his pay. Next we see Dabi laying in the bar room while downing a beer. He's with Shigaraki, Kurojiri, and Twice. "Hey Hans, when you gonna stop simping for Zeiram?" "I am not doing that crap, you roasted peanut, and if anything you simp for staying with how much you bucking admire him." "That is true." "I don't see what you mean," both of Twice's personalities stated. "I'm not a simp, you hand fetish bucker." "Well, at least I'm not a rip-off of Frankenstein." After that they started to yell at each other, starting with flinging insults, but then escalated to flinging objects. It was first a book, and now full-on bloody chairs. Before it could get worse, Kurojiri teleported the thrown objects. "Both of you stop fighting, you are both acting like children." Both Shigaraki and Dabi were startled, for they have never heard Kurojiri yell. Cause of this, they decided to stop. "Sorry, Kurojiri," they both said as they bowed. After calming down, Dabi still decided to ask his question. "So why do you always want to see Zeiram anyway?" "He helped me when Master died. He's the one that made me see that I am better than Master was. He's the one who made me feel loved again." Dabi was surprised when he heard that, but realized that Zeiram was probably just manipulating him to get information. "Well, that's surprising, but good for you." They then kept drinking the night away. Now in a secret facility we see hundreds of containers. Each one had an omu in it. And there sitting in a chair was an old man with a long, white mustache. The man's name is Kudaiguraki. As he was sitting and studying his creations, he heard a knock at the door. He was surprised since this place was well hidden in a mountain range and no one would be able to find it. He then figured it must be someone that worked for All for One. When he answered the door, he saw the giant man that once worked for the same master. "Gigantomachia, what are you doing here? Wait, did you find Master All for One's successor?" The giant nodded. "Well, come in then, and tell me who it is. They walked through the facility, but when Gigantomachia was sure that there was no way for the doctor to escape, he grabbed the man and lifted him up. Gigantomachia, what are you doing? New master wants you gone, I make you gone. Why would he want me dead? You have chance to disrupt master's plan. And what is his plan? I don't know. New master like old one. Prefers to not tell till end. I'm sorry, but you must go. The last thing Kyudai sees is Gigantomachia as the giant squeezes him so hard that he pops. Zeiram vs the League of Villains. In the League of Villains headquarters, we see Kurogyri cleaning the tables of the bar when their phone rings. When I say this, I don't mean Kurogyri's phone, I mean the bar's phone. Hello? Kurogyri asks as he picks up the phone. Hello there, we'd like to speak to the leader of the League of Villains, and this isn't a request. Upon hearing that, Kurogyri quickly calls for Shigaraki. What is it, Kurogyri? There is someone on the phone that wants to talk to you. Kurogyri then turns the phone to speaker. Hello, Tamura Shigaraki. I am Redestro, leader of the Meta Liberation Front. What do you want with us? Simple really, our goal is to make it so that all people are free to use their quirks at even 100%, and you, my friend, have made your little group too well known and are therefore in our way. Don't even bother to escape us, we have 116,516 members, as well as a satellite watching your headquarters. We could tell the heroes as well as the police where you are. So what's it gonna be, you fall by the police, or fall by us, Tamura Shigaraki? Yeah, we'll fight your army. Good, meet us at Daika City within the hour, see you then. After that the man had hung up. Tamura, how are we gonna win? Simple, Kurogyri, we fight with all we've got. And when they think they've won, Father will come and destroy them all. Shigaraki quickly gathered up the rest of the gang, and explained to them the gist of what's going on. How do you know he'll show up, Krusty? Dabi asks. 'Cause, unlike Master, he cares. Kurogyri, have LF come with us? Yes, sir, Kurogyri said as we went to get the elephant-looking high-end Noma. After they got the massive humanoid creature with the long elephant-looking nose, they started to go to the place that the MLA wanted them to meet at. Once they got there, they saw that those idiots weren't bluffing. Crap, they actually have that many soldiers. Doesn't matter, we can still take care of them. So villains, are you ready to lose? A man with a black suit and glasses shouts. I am Trumpet, part of the head of the Meta Liberation Army, now prepared to die. As the man finished yelling, the army started to charge at the League. Cutting to somewhere far away, we see Zeiram watching them through hacked cameras and the fact that he hacked the MLAS satellite. Let's see if they can pull this off. Besides, if they can, I can just get Dabi and Tamura then leave. Wait, why did I say Tamura? He is of no use to me. But seeing him right now so confident. And oh, I was acting, I shouldn't care for him. Let's just see how this turns out, he says to himself. Right now all the League are fighting multiple people. Crap, how do they keep getting stronger? Compress shouts. When he says it, Shigaraki looks at Trumpet, who is still shouting for no reason. It has to do with that bastard's quirk LF, get him. As the Noma hears that, he quickly goes towards the villain and hits him. But when he smashes him, the Noma realizes that it's a fake as it breaks apart as metal. LF starts smashing everything but fails to notice the blue-skinned female walking up behind him. She puts her hand on his back and whispers one simple word. Boom! Then a giant explosion hits his back, completely destroying it. As he starts to regenerate, she just keeps putting more explosives in him till the point that the heat from the explosion destroys him. Now you're also dealing with me, Curious, another head of the Meta Liberation Army, she announces after she had killed the Noma. How we can take you amateurs, we are totally gonna lose. Twice be quiet and just keep killing them, Spinner shouts. Then one of the villains hits Spinner in the face. After around 30 minutes, the entire League was outnumbered. Kurogyri, teleport us out of here, Shigaraki shouts. Before he can, however, he gets restrained by clones of Curious. Then a hooded figure comes out. Like my creations. I am Skeptic, Another head of the Meta Liberation Front. And this man next to me, he says while gesturing to a well-suited man with a long pointy nose, is our leader Reed Destro. Well, Shigaraki, are you ready to die? When Reed Destro walked close enough, Shigaraki reached out to the man. The leader of the army panicked, and thus made his body slightly larger and kicked Shigaraki's left leg, breaking it. To make sure he was immobile, Reed Destro broke his other leg as well. Ah! Shigaraki screamed in pain. Then one of the soldiers walked up to Reed Destro and whispered to him, Sir, there seems to be something coming this way at an astonishing rate. We should move farther back for a bit since we have calculated that it is landing here. The MLA backed off to a safe distance, but had the ranged quirk users aim them at the League. Bye-bye, villains. Then something hits the ground in front of the villains. Out of the dust walks the assassin we all know and love, Zeiram. Without saying a word, he takes a swing with his sword. The pure wind pressure from the slash compacts and cuts off all the goons' heads. He purposefully made sure the head ones didn't die. All of them started panicking. Trumpet was about to shout something, but Zeiram just shot a bullet through his skull. Next he zoomed over and stabbed Skeptic by stabbing him in the heart. Then he cut off Curious' hands and stabbed her in the neck. Reed Destro was panicking like crazy after he saw his entire squad just die in seconds. He however used his quirk to turn himself into a tall black humanoid entity that was as big as Gigantomachia. Now I will crush you! But as he swung his fist at Zeiram, the assassin just in a swift moment cut off Reed Destro's legs. That's karma for hurting Tamura, Zeiram said as he then walked behind the man and shot a bullet through the back of his skull. After that was done, he walked up to Shigaraki, bended down to his level, and gave him a hug. I am so sorry. Dad, what are you sorry for? Shigaraki looked down to see one of Zeiram's weapons through his chest. I really am sorry. But you should have listened to the one lesson I had taught you. You can't trust anyone, even yourself. Goodbye, son. Zeiram had a single tear shed as Shigaraki stopped breathing. You bastard! Kurojiri yells as he tries to trap Zeiram in a portal. Kurojiri kept opening them through Zeiram's limbs, then closed them, but the assassin was too fast. Why would you kill someone that saw you as a father? Because I don't want him to have to be in the pain he would be if he was around when I enacted my plan. After he finished talking, he grabbed Kurojiri by the neck piece and threw him onto the ground. He then kept stomping on his neck till there was a snapping sound. Compress appeared behind Zeiram to turn him into a marble, but he just grabbed his wrist. Zeiram pulled him towards him and ripped out the villain's heart with his bare hand. Twice stabbed him with the sharp rulers and pulled himself towards the monster. I'll kill you, you bucker! Zeiram just easily grabs Twice's suit, wrapping his hand around the chest area. He then uses his other hand and grabs Twice's chin. Zeiram then pulls each hand opposite of the other till he ripped the split maniac's head off along with the spine attached. Zeiram then turned around and dodged the knife Toga tried stabbing her with. He just punched her in the face so hard her head exploded. Zeiram looked at Spinner, and before he could react grabbed him by the neck. He squeezed the villain's neck till it snapped. All that was left in the wake was blood everywhere, and the two living assassins. So boss, why did you kill all of them? I was getting too attached. With that they walked back to base. One covered in ash, the other covered in blood. 9. Zeiram was miserable. Despite doing it for Shigaraki's sake, he hated the fact that he murdered the person he considered his son. More than just hated it, he was disgusted with himself. He considered himself to be a monster. But he kept reminding himself that it was all for the greater good, and that at least Shigaraki wouldn't have to go through the pain of what he was planning. But still, he was miserable. Dabi and Tokoyami tried to cheer him up, but nothing worked. Even getting him out to do a slaughterfest changed nothing. After a while they decided to just give up. So boss is still sad? Nemoto asked. Yeah, but wouldn't you be if you killed your child? Dabi replied back. I never had any, but yeah, I probably would be. Despite what they thought, Zeiram could hear them. He was happy to know that they didn't think of him as pathetic, but he knew that he needed to stop sulking and to get back on track. So he got up and prepared himself to go hunting. The target being the current number 1 hero, Endeavor. Dobby, want to come help me murder that trash bag of a father you have? Zeiram asked as he walked out of his room. Hell yeah, Dobby shouted. They both then made their way over to the flaming hero's house. When they arrived, there seemed to be no one there. They weren't fooled by it, however, after all they know about the training area in the basement. So they silently snuck inside of the house and made their way downstairs. There they saw Endeavor and his son Shoto training. Of course, to anyone else this would be more like abuse. Dobby, you get your brother out of here. I know you want to kill the bastard yourself, but we both know that you're not strong enough to do that, Zeiram whispered. Dobby nodded and they got into position. Zeiram then moved his hand in a chopping motion as a signal. They both ran in, Dobby quickly picking up Shoto. The shock from them just barging in was enough to completely paralyze Shoto in place. Meanwhile, Zeiram punched Endeavor so hard that the hero went straight through the wall. Come on, let's go. He's bound to come after us any second anyway. They ran up the stairs and out of the house, all the while Dobby still carrying Shoto. When they got out, however, the dual-haired teenager snapped out of his shock and tried to shoot ice at Dobby. However, our blue fire user quickly melted it. Then he quickly recaptured the boy. As they were doing this, fire bursted from the door as Endeavor flew out to confront our protagonist. When I'm done with you, villain, there will be nothing but ash, the old man shouted. The hero was about to shoot fire, but Dobby put Shoto in the way. Now, you wouldn't want to kill your precious successor now, do you? Endeavor growled but stopped. The small pause gave Zeiram the moment to punch the hero right in the face. He was sent flying into his house, causing it to catch ablaze. Endeavor came back out angrier than ever. Foolishly enough, because of this his house was burning quicker. Dobby, get out of here. I'll finish this. Dobby nodded to his boss and left, taking Shoto with him. So ready to die, number 1. After stating that, both punched at the same time. Both colliding fists caused a shockwave and burst of flame. The force was so powerful that it created a crater in the area they collided. Both got pushed back, but Zeiram was quicker and grabbed Endeavor by the throat before he could react. The hero tried to burn the monster's arm, but it was futile as the entity slammed the flaming trash into the dirt. He then kept ramming him into the ground over and over again until he coughed up blood. Endeavor, after about 2 minutes of slamming, finally reached a temperature where Zeiram had to let go. The hero took advantage of this and blasted a giant fireball at our resident number 1 assassin. He just casually walked through the fire though, causing the hero to stiffen in slight fear. Zeiram just proceeded to walk up to him. Endeavor threw another punch at him, but he just caught it. You know, you were right, Zeiram said as he looked at Endeavor. You are nowhere near close to the level of power Almight possessed. After finishing that statement, he did the same thing that All for One did to Almight all those years ago. Punched a hole straight through his stomach. As the hero coughed up loads of blood, Dobby returned. I put my little bro at a safe distance so that he wouldn't see this, although I think he would have been happy to watch. You can finish Endeavor off, I have somewhere to be, Zeiram stated as he walked off. Well, old man, ready to die. Dobby then shot his blue flames, burning Endeavor to a crisp, and then falling into a pile of ashes. Meanwhile, we see Zeiram walk over to a secluded area. The place was by a cliffside and covered in flowers. There, we see a tall man, with white long hair and gray eyes. The man is just sitting there, watching the sun set. Zeiram sat down next to the man. You seem at peace, despite what you think of the world, Zeiram stated. Well, I'm about to die. This hunk of metal won't keep me alive much longer, might as well enjoy the last of it. What if I could make you live? The man looked at Zeiram in surprise. You believe that the strong should be in charge of the weak, no matter if their quirk was villainous, a mutant or otherwise. So 9, why not help me create that world, create a better society? Join the Abominate Assassin Society. Zeiram finished as he offered his hand to 9. The now dubbed 9 smiled under his black and purple mask as he took the assassin's hand. I accept, let's create this better world. The last member. The students of classroom 1A were all miserable and broken. Some from the death of Almight, but most were from the death of their homeroom teacher. None were more distraught, however, than Hitoshi Shinso. He was the son of Shota Aizawa and Hisashi Yamada. Sure, he was adopted, but the man was still his father. When Yamada and him got the news that Aizawa was killed, they both broke. They rarely talk anymore, usually have tear marks on their cheeks, and they isolate themselves from everyone else. After weeks they sadly had to go back to school, but they were not the same. Shinso still didn't talk to any of his friends and always had his head down in his desk. While Yamada pretended to act happy and continue teaching, even though the students and teachers could see through the facade. All in all, the entire faculty and school were crying for months. Right now in the Class 1A dormitory we see all the students either sulking or playing games. Bakugo, despite usually acting selfish, knew that Shinso needed someone to cheer him up or at least give the insomniac confidence, so he went up to the second floor and knocked on Shinso's door. "Whoever it is, go away." Despite what the purple-haired weirdo said, Bakugo came in anyway. "You know you shouldn't sit around like this. Just moping over him isn't gonna bring him back." Shinso, hearing this, started to get angry. "What, so you're saying I shouldn't care that he died?" "I'm not saying that. I'm just that you doing this is just gonna make you more miserable and won't help with anything. Like you know anything, you're just a selfish, egotistical Bakugo. You don't care about anyone but yourself," Shinso shouted at him. Bakugo kept quiet with his head down, his hair blocking the view of his eyes. 12 years ago. 12 years ago, my only friend, the person I considered as my brother, was kidnapped. They never found him and is probably dead. That's the reason I act selfish. That's the reason why I push people away. It's 'cause I'm too scared to have any more friends that will just get taken from me. I know exactly how you feel, Shinso, and that's why I'm trying to help you. The reason I had wanted to become a hero is 'cause of the fact to not let anything like that ever happen to anyone else. I'm not saying to get rid of your emotions. I'm telling you to remember what happened, and use your pain to become a better hero and make sure what happened to your father doesn't happen to anyone else." Shinso's eyes widened in surprise. "You know that may be the first meaningful thing I've heard you say, but you're right. I'll become a better hero to make sure that Bucker that killed my dad doesn't murder anyone like that again." Meanwhile, we see Niza having a conference with Detective Tsukachi. "So you found the League of Villains, all dead in Daika City?" Nizu inquired. "Yes, as well as it seems the Meta Liberation Army. Though Dabi's body was never found." "Oh, that's why he helped." Niza's emotionless face turned into a smile. "What is it?" "The reason why Zeiram before helped the League. It's 'cause Dabi was working for him as a spy, so when the group served its purpose, he killed them. That's why Dabi's body isn't there. It's 'cause Zeiram didn't kill them like the rest." "That actually confirms my theory. You see, we haven't released it to the public yet, but Endeavor's body was found burned to ash in front of his burnt-down house. The fact that Dabi and Zeiram are working together makes more sense than how the fire user killed Endeavor." "Well, now to be on your way, detective, besides I have work to do." Niza shooed him along, as the detective left the office. "Now Zeiram, what are you planning? Or should I say Izuku Midoriya?" Niza stated to himself as he looked at his computer that was playing all the encounters of Zeiram. Now somewhere else, we see a vigilante in an Almight hoodie, was wearing black pants with knee covering, black shoes, black gloves with elbow pads, and a mask up to his nose. He was beating up some villains, and beating them easily. Crawling onto many different walls, then jumping off to hit the villains. After he took them all down, he noticed a shadow looming over him. Looking up, he panicked when he saw the famous assassin that had killed All Might. Without a second thought, the vigilante quickly climbed up to the roof opposite of the giant man and started running. Before he could even get to the next building, however, Zeiram just grabbed his ankle and threw him back onto the roof. "Crap, well, if you want to kill me, I'm not going down without a fight." No, you misunderstand," Zeiram said while lifting his hands up in a non-dangerous manner. "All I want to do is talk." The vigilante was surprised when he heard this. "Why do you want to talk with me?" "Well, you see, I need someone else on my team and I want you to join me." "And why would I?" Because unlike heroes, I've been succeeding with my dream. After all, you have to come to realize that the hero world is corrupt. I mean, the exact reason that you became a vigilante and the reason why you mentor, who used to be a hero then switched to being a vigilante, is cause you both saw that corruption. The media as well as the heroes just think I'm killing and that's it, but no. I'm making a bigger plan and I want you a part of it. And before you say the fact about Almight, think about it. Even with how many villains he brought down, the amount of villains barely dwindled cause he never broke the rules. Despite him being all-powerful, he never got anywhere close to his dream. But me, I've broken many rules and I get closer to my dream every day. You've lived a hard life, Koichi Himawari, treated cause of your weak quirk. So why not help me change this world? Zeiram finished as he offered his hand to the young man. He's right, I have been treated like trash. An old master was right, the hero society is bucked. I accept, new master. Koichi finished as he took the man's hand. Good, let's get to work then. As they walked away, Zeiram put a weird-looking bud on the rooftop. And as they left, the bud started to split open. The master plan? In the dark alleyways of Hosa City, we see a man in a black suit. The outfit has hanging wires from his entire body as well as spinning saw blades around his wrists. He was the vigilante known as the Crawler, now he's the dark assassin known as Massacre. He is currently hunting a weak thug that a man wanted killed for not repaying his debt. Massacre jumped on top of the man when he found him. Before the weakling could react, his head was shredded off from the rest of his body. Side target terminated. He left the body, but took the head to show to his client. After getting paid, he quickly hurried back to base since Zeiram was holding a meeting today. He hadn't actually met the rest of the society yet, so he was kinda nervous. He quickly ran in when he arrived. What he wasn't expecting, however, was to bump into a literal giant. Who are you? What business you have here? The giant asked. When the massive man spoke, he also lifted up his arm, ready to attack the newcomer. Gigantomachia, stand down. He is our newest and last member, Zeiram stated as he walked in. With hearing that, Gigantomachia stopped his attack and let Massacre in. After a bit, everyone had arrived and was in the main room. Now before we get started, I'd like to introduce you all to Koichi Himawari, or as we will call him, Massacre. Massacre, these are Gigantomachia, 9, Tuya Todoroki otherwise known as Dabi, Shin Namoto otherwise known as Veritas, and Fumikage Tokoyami otherwise known as Mikaboshi. Wait, aren't you one of the students at UA? Massacre asked while pointing at Tokoyami. I am, but Zeiram opened up my eyes. So now I am a spy for us against the fake heroes. Okay, now for why I called you all here. We will be commencing our plan. I never exactly told any of you what it was, just gave an idea on what our goal is. I had realized that over time, this world is unsavable. Everyone from heroes to citizens is corrupt. But after a long time, I have figured out how to fix it. Recently, 9 acquired a quirk from a citizen. The quirk makes it so that any person the user has ever seen in their life, they can make an exact duplicate of the person. The catch is that the user though can edit the brain of the duplicate to his liking. With this, we are finally able to fix this society. You see, I'm not just planning on killing all heroes, that wouldn't fix anything. What we are gonna do is wipe out all of humanity and start it from scratch. We will murder the world and redo everything except with us in charge. Now I bet you are all wondering how we would do this. Well, what you all failed to probably notice was that any time I had a fight or meet one of you, I planted a bud in that location. The buds are a creation of my quirk and will be our salvation. Zeiram finished as he held out a bud to show them. Master, how exactly will we deal with all those heroes that will likely try to stop us though? Massacre asked. The buds are more than just for extinction, they also create these humanoid monsters that will serve us. Also, you must wear these, they will make it so you don't get killed when the timer is done. Zeiram then showed these little clips that were also made out of his quirk. I have taken an old rundown 20-floor building, you all will go to separate locations to make the heroes think I am somewhere else. The reason for this is cause my quirk is the thing powering our weapon, so we need my quirk activated at all times to succeed. So let's go and make this world better. Now days later we see the heroes at UA talking about what to do next to stop Zeiram. But as they were gonna fully discuss, one of the students ran in. "Sir, are you seeing this? It's being broadcasted across the world," Kaminari shouted as he turned on the TV in the faculty room. "People of the world," Zeiram said, "we are the Abominate Assassin Society, and we have decided that this world is too corrupt. In the time span of 5 days, you all will become extinct. This isn't a bluff. We will wipe you all out and create a new, better world in the aftermath. So you should all probably say goodbye to your loved ones, and accept your inevitable deaths. Goodbye, and farewell humanity." The feed then shut off. All the heroes were paralyzed in fear and surprised. Even Nizu was awestruck about what he heard. But after snapping out of it, quickly got to work. "You recorded the video footage, correct?" Nizu asked Powerloader. "Yes," he replied. "Good, give it to me." Nizu quickly got to work tracking where the signal had been broadcasted from. Something that powerful had to have been from something with enough signal. He also was rewatching the video when he noticed a weird humanoid ball of flesh behind them. Nizu decided to scan the thing as well by switching the video to a lens that makes it able to see energy, and noticed that its power was rising. He also noticed that the energy was attached to Zeiram. Nizu then realized what their plan was, and it scared him. The villain was right. They aren't doing a bluff. "Are you sure, sir?" Ectoplasm asked. "Yes, Zeiram has created these weird monsters with his quirk. It seems that they are charging up energy. I see that in 5 days, they will be fully charged and release that energy. The energy it will release is electromagnetic. So the blast will be like an EMP, except it will be enough to cover the whole world. The blast, though, won't be to shut off power, but to shut off everyone's heart. The man is literally planning to purge the world." Bird against Brawn. It has now been 3 days. The heroes are hard at work trying to figure out where Zeiram is while also keeping the civilians calm. The world is in chaos as people panic and governments are relying on the heroes instead of themselves. The strong heroes would lead the people into safety bunkers while the intelligent heroes like Nizu were trying to figure out where the villains could be. After the 3 days, Nizu had finally discovered something. When he found out what he needed, he called a bunch of heroes as well as some of Class 1A. It was hard to track and still is to find the place the signal was coming from. The villains were smart and bounced it off many satellites to send it across the world and make it almost impossible to find. I have though discovered 7 places that it could have come from. We will split into groups to take the first 6, the last we will go all together since it's the biggest. You may all go and cast your missions out quickly. Now we see Red Riot, Ectoplasm, Gunhead, and Uravity. They went to the first location, which was an abandoned warehouse. "Remember to be quiet and to look everywhere. We need to figure out if these buckers are hiding here," Gunhead stated. The rest nodded. With that, Ectoplasm made clones of himself as they then started to explore the premises. The clones as well as Uravity looked on the outside, while Gunhead and Red Riot scoped out the inside. What the hero and student failed to realize was above on the ceiling. There we see an individual with a metal-beaked mask. The person also had a long black cloak, but as it got ready to descend, the cloak transformed to giant hands. The individual then jumped off with startling velocity with the giant hands, right at Red Riot. "Watch out," Gunhead shouted as he pushed the student out of the way. When the hero was hit, the pressure broke all the bones in his chest. The smoke cleared, and Red Riot saw the villain standing over Gunhead. "You will not stop the cataclysm, hero." Mikaboshi then took out his katana and lifted it above the back of the hero's neck and plunged it in. "You bastard, you killed him! I'll take you down!" Red Riot shouted. The kid turned his body into complete rock and charged at the man. "You know your problem, Kirishima? It's that you just charge into the villain thinking that you can just overpower them," Mikaboshi stated. Red Riot tried to swing at the villain, but he just dodged as his robe wrapped around the hero's arm and threw him. The kid crashed into some crates but got up quickly and charged at the villain. It was another futile attempt, however, as the criminal just jumped above him and kicked him in the back of the head. "You won't be able to beat me by yourself, you fool!" As he finished talking, however, he got kicked in the face. And then came dozens of ectoplasms. You will tell us where your master is, villain, the ectoplasm stated. There is so many, how annoying. Without the heroes noticing, Mikaboshi pressed a button to a beacon in his hand and then put it back in his pocket. The villain quickly dodged the ectoplasm that tried to hit him, then sliced the clone in half. After that, he took out 2 guns and started to shoot them. What he didn't notice was Uravity coming behind him. But when she was about to hit him, the cloak turned into a giant hand and hit her. She launched but was caught by one of the clones. Uravity got up and charged back at him. While his cloak was dealing with her, and he was dealing with the clones, he couldn't focus on Red Riot. The hero ran up and punched the villain in the face, launching him into a wall. Red Gauntlet. Mikaboshi slowly got up, but his mask was cracked. Damn, they cracked it, which means this thing will probably fall off soon. As he was thinking this, a clone jumped and was about to axe kick him. His reflexes were faster though, as he grabbed the clone, then jabbed the end of the mask into its neck. After he destroyed it, he started to laugh. Ha 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 ha. Why are you laughing? You're obviously outnumbered, Ectoplasm questioned. You really think that? Then you're all fools. As he said that, a weird flesh humanoid attacked one of the clones. Then a swarm of them came in and started to attack and rip up all the clones. While they deal with them, I'll take care of you too, Mikaboshi stated as he looked at both Red Riot and Uravity. Mikaboshi charged quickly at Uravity with his katana out. Luckily, Red Riot was able to dive in the way and break the katana. But then the villain kicked the red-haired kid in the back of the knee, and then uppercut him in the jaw, making him fall over. He then continued his attack at Uravity while the creature that was attached to him was pinning Red Riot down. He kept attacking her left and right, giving her no time to try and touch him, only to dodge. He silently and quickly though slipped out a knife and then slashed Uravity in the ankle. You two can't beat me, and Ectoplasm will be down for the count soon. As he was distracted talking, however, he didn't notice Uravity touch the thing pinning Red Riot down with all 5 of her fingers. Cause of this, his shadow was lifted into the air and pulled him with it. What? Release. After Uravity said that, Mikaboshi started to descend, but as he was about to catch himself, Red Riot hit him in the face again, causing him to collide with another wall. When he got up this time, his entire mask was shattered, and Red Riot and Uravity's eyes widened as they saw their classmate under the mask. Tokoyami? What are you doing? Red Riot shouted. Zeiram made me see the problem with this world, the truth. And I will help him fix it. As he shouted this, dark shadows separated into many sharp objects and fired at both heroes. Red Riot was able to block them, but Uravity kept getting cut. After she was injured, Mikaboshi quickly took out a gun and shot her in the head, killing her. You killed her, that's it. Red Riot charged at Mikaboshi, and since Dark Shadow had separated, it would take time to go together. Red Riot punched Mikaboshi and then kneed him in the crotch. Afterward, he hit the top of his head with enough force it slammed him down and made a crater. When Red Riot lifted him up, he was knocked out. After Mikaboshi was out of commission, the creatures stopped attacking and just began to wander. But when they scattered, the real ectoplasm as well as the clones were ripped to shreds. The only one left here was Red Riot. Nizu, Zeiram isn't here, and all the other heroes with me are dead. I captured the member of the Abominate Assassin Society known as Mikaboshi. He's actually Tokoyami. I am heading to the rendezvous point. I'll see the rest there and leave this guy for the police. Alright, but be careful. After that was done, Red Riot then started to run to the final location. The truth in the words. When Mikaboshi was defeated, the first location turned up to be empty. Cause of this, Red Riot had went to the rendezvous point. Meanwhile, the other people are busy checking out the locations they were sent to. One such place being a chemical plant. In the distant future, after Red Riot contacted Niza. The first location was a bust. So let's just hope that he's either in one of the other ones that they are searching or in the last one. Yes, let's hope, Power Loader says. Now back to the time period I was discussing. We see the heroes Freezer Burn, Midnight, Fourth Kind, and Charge Bolt. They are invading the closed-down chemical plant. Remember, be careful. We don't know if this place has any dangerous chemicals just laying around, Fourth Kind stated. The others nodded as they started to sneak around. Fourth Kind went to explore the upstairs and observation room. Freezer Burn looked around the outside, while Charge Bolt and Midnight checked the bottom floor. As they were looking, none of them noticed the green gas filling the bottom floor of the building till Midnight looked down. By the time she did, it was already up to their waists. "Crap, everyone get out of the building!" she shouted. Luckily, Charge Bolt and Midnight were right by the door, 'cause the moment they got out the entire first floor ignited in flames. The blast startled Fourth Kind as he began to back up to go check on the others. But then he felt himself bump into someone. The hero quickly turned around and punched the person behind him in the stomach. The villain flew into the wall, but quickly got up to reveal himself. He was a man that was wearing a plague doctor mask, and wore a long red scarf and dark outfit. "Hello there, I am Veritas. I'm terribly sorry, but Zeiram isn't here, so I'll be your opponent." As the villain said this, he quietly took out a gun from behind him. He instantly pulled his arm out and shot the man in the leg. After, he kicked him in the head, causing him to fling backward. Fourth Kind tried to stand up, but fell due to the bullet going through his bone. Veritas casually walked up and kicked the man again, this time in the chest. The force made the hero crash through the glass, but as he was about to fall, Veritas grabbed the rim of his shirt. He pulled the hero close to him and whispered, "This is all for the glory of my master and his wish." After saying that, he let go, causing Fourth Kind to fall into the fiery inferno below. After that was all and done, Veritas decided he might as well go look for the others since he had to kill them anyway. He suspected that they were all outside. But as he was about to go out there, he saw all the fire freeze into glaciers of ice. "Looks like they are coming towards me instead." Veritas jumped down onto the floor after Freezer Burn melted the ice away. After hitting the floor, he pulled out his gun and shot it at Charge Bolt. Freezer Burn, though, put a glacier in the way, blocking it. After blocking it, he shot another one straight at the villain. Veritas jumped up, and then the metal in the bottom of his boot shattered the top of the ice when he stomped on it. Afterward, he flipped upward and slammed the heel of it into Freezer Burn's head. As he was about to hit him, though, a whip wrapped around his leg and threw him. He looked up to see Midnight. "What is your quirk?" Veritas asked. "My quirk is somnambulist. It makes it so I secrete a sleep-inducing aroma from any part of my body. It works better on males than females." Why did I tell him that? You made me admit that somehow. No matter, I'll take you out right now. She then started to fill the room with the gas while Freezer Burn and Charge Bolt quickly exited. What they failed to realize, however, was the fact that the mask the villain was wearing also doubled as a gas mask. Cause of this, he was immune to the effects of Midnight's quirk. When she completely filled the place with the sleep gas, that's when Veritas made his move and dashed behind her. He grabbed her arm and twisted it the wrong way, breaking it. Afterward, he took out a knife and slit her throat. She choked to death on her own blood as he made his way out of there. Without even pausing for a second, Veritas quickly went for Charge Bolt. The hero dodged and blasted a ray of electricity. The villain jumped, but cause of the fact his boots had metal at the bottom, he still got shocked and fell down. Veritas' face planted onto the ground, but moved quickly to dodge another glacier that launched at him. While Freezer Burn was unable to see him due to the ice in the way, he pushed himself off of it, into the air, and landed right behind the hero. Veritas tripped Freezer Burn and then pinned him to the gravel. "Do you know of a man by the name Tuya Todoroki?" Freezer Burn froze when he heard that name. "Yes, I do. He's my dead brother." "Well, I'll be glad to inform you that he is very much alive. As a matter of fact, he's my associate, Dalby. Of course, he has lost all care for you and the rest of his family, now just himself and the rest of our group. I'll send him your regards, though." After Veritas finished talking, he took out a gun and pointed it at Freezer Burn's head. The hero was crying from the pain that he just found out his brother abandoned him. After hearing the sobs of the hot and cold hero for about 3 more seconds, he pulled the trigger. Charge Bolt saw as his classmate got shot in the back of the head while crying and couldn't take it. He released all his electric energy, causing the entire area to be electrified. When he shorted out, all the power stopped and Charge Bolt needed time to unfry his brain. Meanwhile, Veritas was unconscious from the blast. "This is Charge Bolt. Zeiram wasn't here and the rest are dead. I will meet the others at the rendezvous point. Goodbye, Nizu." The hero then made his way to the destination. The beautiful flames of hell. There has now been that you readers know of 2 out of the 7 locations don't have Zeiram. Let's see if any of the others do, or if it's just gonna be a ploy for the Abominate Assassin Society to gain their victory and wipe out all of humanity as we know it. Right now we arrive at what looks to be an abandoned radio station. Outside of the facility we see the heroes Froppy, Tentacle, Ryukyu, and Cementos. They seem to be sneaking very quietly to make sure no one was around. From what I can hear, there are around 20 people around the area in different locations as well as 15 inside. Tentacle stated as his appendages turned back to nubs at the ends. That's good, at least we know how many there are both inside and out. The only problem is, we don't even know if any of the head members are here. Cementos responded. Also, with so many, we won't be able to stay silent for that long. We will have to go for a strength approach rather than a stealth one, Ryukyu added. Just as she finished talking, 3 of the fleshy humanoids walked by and one of them started to sniff the air. It then quickly turned its head to look at the heroes and roared loud enough so the others could hear. Cementos quickly made the cement under the 3 creatures rise as Spike impaling them. To all the heroes' disgust, however, the things were still alive, just stuck. Ryukyu changed into her dragon form and started to crush all of the monsters outside, with Tentacle being there to help her. Cementos and Froppy went inside to take care of the rest. Inside, Cementos was taking care of the monsters below, while Froppy decided to get rid of the ones on the top floor. When Froppy got up there, she could see about 5 spread out through the entire room. The hero used her long tongue and hit 2 of them into a wall and knocked them out. The last 3 started to run at her, but she quickly stuck to the wall, making her out of reach. Froppy then wrapped her tongue around them and slammed them so hard they were stuck in the floor. Thinking she won, the hero jumped back on the ground of this level. What she failed to notice though was the person behind her that surrounded their arm in blue fire. Meanwhile we see Ryukyu crush 2 more of the weird flesh monsters outside. The things had required a lot of pressure to make them immobile. The dragon hero had to put enough force to bury them in the ground to not be a bother. Tentacle was using all his limbs to slam the creatures into random junk like metal, then bending it to keep them there. They kept just beating the shit out of them till they were incapacitated until there was none left. After they defeated all of them, Tentacle turned all his limbs into eyeball and ears to look around. There only seemed to be 2 people on the 2nd floor. The hero switched to panic. "Froppy, do you read me? Get out of there!" he shouted into their earpiece. It was too late, however, for the entire 2nd floor bursted into flames. Let's go back a bit to see what happened while they were up there. "Well, looks like you took your sweet time, hero," the villain announced. Froppy quickly turned around and saw Dobby. She quickly flung her tongue at her, but he just caught it. His hand began to glow. "Bye-bye, hero." After saying that, he shot fire and the entire floor combusted from the heat, making all the glass explode and every living thing except Dobby on the floor to turn to ash. The criminal simply just jumped out of one of the broken windows, landing in front of the heroes outside. "I believe this was your friend," the villain stated while throwing the tip of Froppy's tongue at Tentacle. "You bastard." Dobby shot fire at the hero that was blinded by rage, but what he didn't expect was for him to block it with the webbing between his arms to block the fire. Tentacle quickly was in front of Dobby and punched him in the jaw. The force hit the villain onto the ground and he seemed to be knocked out. The hero, sadly cause of this, let his guard down, and when he went to check and make sure the criminal was knocked out. "Wait!" Ryukyu shouted, but it was too late, for Dobby grabbed on to the hero's face and blasted a stream of fire at him. When the smoke cleared, Tentacle's head was completely disintegrated. Ryukyu lunged at Dobby, but he jumped out of the way. He shot fire at the hero, attempting to melt her as well. The dragon, though, flapped her wings, causing the fire to blow back at him. He quickly moved out of the way but couldn't dodge the giant hand coming at him. The force launched him and probably broke a rib or two, though he got up and ran at the hero again. He noticed that Ryukyu was starting to get nervous, which was causing her to attack more frantic and give more openings. He just had to time this right, and he could kill her quickly. She kept slamming her hands at him, and that's when he saw it. The next time the dragon attacked, he jumped through her fingers and pointed his hand right at her chest. He put all the flame power he had into a singular object and fired the giant blue flame ball. The impact caused a giant hole through the entire chest of Ryukyu. She collapsed on the ground dead. Now to just take care of the last her. Before he could finish, a pillar of concrete rose at him. He dodged out of the way. I'll make you pay for killing them, you villain! Let's see you try. Dabi fired blast after blast of fire at the hero. The problem, however, was that Cementos was easily deflecting it with all the cement. Cement smothers fire, you know. Your tyranny ends now, villain. As he finished, a pillar of cement bended in the air and slammed down onto Dabi's face, breaking his nose and jaw, as well as knocking him out. After wrapping Dabi up with cement and calling the police, Cementos contacted Nizu. Nizu, sir, I'm sorry to inform, but the rest of the heroes in my squad perished. I will now be heading to the rendezvous point. After finishing the conversation, morphed the cement into a wave and started to ride it to the 7th location. 9 and A extra 4. We have now seen 3 of the 7 locations fought through and accomplished. Many of the heroes have perished so far, and there will be more to come. But let us view the other great battles of this little adventure, and watch what will unfold. Right now, in the depths of the sewers, we see the heroes Mirko, Sir Night Eye, Dynamite, and Anima. Anima was using bats to navigate them through the underground tunnels with their echolocation. Why the buck are we traveling through this gunk? Dynamite shouted. I already told you that the best way to get into this old rundown lab is through the sewers. It's also the least likely to have any enemies down here since they wouldn't expect us. Night Eye replied. In fact, he was correct, for all the mindless flesh piles were just wandering about around the location, but not even thinking if they could have checking the sewer. Of course, the things obviously have a superior intelligence controlling them, but he has currently put them on autopilot. The heroes keep traveling through the narrow and desolate passageways of the underground. Not a sound except their footsteps in the shallow water, as well as the sounds of the bats. Sadly, though, bats can help with everything, and it was proven at this point when the tunnel split into 4 different ways. We don't have enough bats to explore this entire area, Anima stated. Fine, then we'll split up. Contact the rest if you find an exit after confirming if it's the way into the facility, Night Eye said. The other heroes nodded as they all went in the separate directions. Back above, the creatures that are aimlessly wandering stop as they hear a voice command them. They haven't shown up yet, so it can be assumed that they are underground. Get down there and find them. A tall man with long white hair commanded them. The creatures, hearing his call, quickly ran towards the entrance and climbed down. After every single one was down there, the man went down as well. The sounds of his footsteps echoed as he went down the twists and turns of this labyrinth to find those pesky heroes. Meanwhile, we see the heroes all exploring the different parts, and none have found the way out yet. Dynamite was the first one to encounter the mindless monsters, but he made quick work of them by blowing them all up. The next to encounter them was Mitko. Again, she got through them in lightning speed by kicking through all of them. Next to encounter them had been Night Eye, and then finally Anima. Damn, if they're down here, it means that they somehow found out about us, Night Eye thought as he dodged one of the creature's attacks seamlessly while throwing some small weights through 3 of the creature's heads. Anima, on the other hand, was just physically fighting the creatures with his abnormal body's density. What he didn't notice, however, was the man in black walking towards him. As he turned around, it was too late as a small purple shot out and pierced his eye. He covered the wound as it started to bleed. You really shouldn't have come here. Now you're gonna be burned. The man then shot beams out of his fingertips. Anima, however, was able to dodge, and then called for animals to come attack this man. Out of the deep halls of this dark underworld, an army of rats heard his call and came charging at the villain. Ah, get off me, you disgusting rodents! A giant dragon head came out of his back and crushed all of the rats and ate them. Now it's your turn. This will be fun. After finishing, the giant head charged at the hero and sealed its jaws around him, thus ending his life. The man then decided to go look for the others, and what better one to attack first than the one closest to him. So he navigated himself through the pathways and found Mirko. She, however, was more skilled than the last one, and right when he turned the corner attacked him. "Ha, got you, villain!" she shouted. Her words were in vain, however, as she realized a force field had went in front of him, blocking her attack. She understood the limitation quickly though, so the hero zoomed behind the villain, then kicked him in the back of the head. The hit was powerful enough to slam him into the ground. "Based on what I can see, you have a quirk that enhances your leg power, which means I can end this flawlessly and effortlessly." The man dodges the hero's incoming stomp by rolling out of the way, and then trips her. When she falls, he has the dragon head come out again but just bite her legs clean off. Ah! He leaves her there, screaming in pain as she bleeds to death. "Any other heroes here will hear and either leave or find me at the lab." With that in mind, the man climbs back up the ladder into the complex. Right when he gets out though, an explosion is launched at him. When the smoke clears though, the man had blocked it with another force field. "Really, you tried to get me with that?" "No, just to distract you, you bastard!" Dynamite shouted. Just then one of Night Eye's weights shoots right into the left side of the villain's jaw, twisting his head partially from the force and causing him to fall over. "Your tyranny ends here, villain. Now where is your master?" "Like I'll tell. Even if I go to jail, the entire planet will die. I won't stay in there for long." After saying that, the man gets up as two dragon heads shoot out of his back. Night Eye and Dynamite narrowly dodge the massive reptiles, and then both charge at the man. Dynamite blasted another explosion about the size of a mini nuke, while Night Eye threw more weights. The man blocked the explosive hero while simultaneously dodging the weights. The projectiles by mistake hit Dynamite, causing him to be launched. Night Eye grabbed the villain and made eye contact. "Who are you?" "I am your worst nightmare, but call me Nine." He punched Night Eye and then shot at him. The hero though dodged both the punch and the beam as he jumped backwards. His eyes widened in fear though, as he saw what was gonna happen next. As if on cue, Nine raises his hand and a giant thundercloud appears. Many lightning bolts strike the entire area as then a massive one comes down, hitting Night Eye. "I made sure not to kill you with the hit. After all, your quirk seems very useful." Nine puts both his hands on the man's head and starts to absorb his power. "That's it, I'm not holding back," Dynamite shouts as he blasts Nine. The explosion released on the man's back destroyed the rest of the shattered building as well as leaving nothing left in the area except him and the villain. Night Eye had died in the blast and was just ash. "Ha, you're too late. I have his quirk now." "Yeah, but you won't have a chance to use it." Nine shot all his beams at him as well as both dragon heads. He as well put a force field in front of him. Dynamite dodged the beams and then grabbed both dragon heads. After holding on to them, he released an explosion, annihilated them. The hero then blasted at the field with enough force it overwhelmed it. The field shattered and the blast launched Nine into the ground. Burned and bruised, the villain finally fainted. "Nizu, I am the last survivor of my group. The villain has been defeated and I am heading to the rendezvous point." As the hero left, however, he failed to realize the white-haired villain getting back up and smiling. Slaughterhouse. In the many floors and hallways of this once great yet now abandoned spaceport, we see the one who is leading this extinction-level event. Zeiram just sits back and watches as the chaos unfolds. He had already discovered from hacking into UA that he will not be targeted until last. The problem being he doesn't exactly know when they will get here. Just as he was thinking that, he heard a voice speak into his ear. "You were right, sir. The foolish heroes underestimated me and thought I was knocked out. I am now currently waiting till the rest of our members are defeated, which is most likely only Gigantomachia. I will then, once the heroes leave, go retrieve them," Nine stated through the earpiece. "Good, see to it that all the others are secure." "As you wish, sir." After they ended the call, Zeiram then leaned back further into his chair. I wonder how this will turn out. Oh, who am I kidding? We will obviously win. And even if we don't, I have a backup plan. Now to rewind for a bit, but at a different location we see the heroes Pinky, Invisible Girl, Rock, and Snipe. They are at what appears to be a rundown news station. Let's go take these villains down, Pinky shouted. Be quiet, Rock whispered. We are here to observe and attack if we see anyone. You shouting could blow our location to the enemy if you do that, Snipe told her. Oh, sorry. I swear we shouldn't have brought kids here. We can't turn back now, Rock, so let's just move forward. The other pro nods as they then all start to sneak into the facility. Of course, though, Pinky's shouting did attract some unwanted attention as we see a figure covered in black and wires. When the four heroes got in, they decided to have Invisible Girl do reconnaissance. So the other three waited at the inner entrance as the last one took off their boots and gloves to go explore the whole place. The only problem about this sad plan was that she was completely defenseless against any attacks, which is exactly what the man watching wanted. He watched the hero through thermal goggles built into the lenses of his mask as the foolish person failed to notice him. To be fair, he was basically sticking to a wall and looking through the window. When he saw the time was right, he quickly and quietly opened the window. After that, he slid up till he was almost reaching the ceiling. Once up there, he got ready as the saws on his wrist activated. He then launched himself at the unsuspecting hero. With one swift chop, the room's walls were sprayed in blood as the head and body of the now dead hero fell to the floor. She's taking quite a while. Should we maybe go check on her? Snipe asked. You don't need to, she's already taken care of, the masked figure said as he walked down the hallway where they could see him. Snipe quickly tried to shoot the man, but the criminal just blocked them with his saws. He then went on all fours and propelled himself at the heroes. He tried slicing Snipe with his saws, but Rock touched them, causing it to freeze in place. The hero then got one free kick in before the villain detached the weapons from himself. He slid backwards and spun at a 90-degree angle when Pinky tried to hit him with acid. None of you will make it out here alive. I am Massacre, and as the name states, I will slaughter you all, Massacre shouts. After announcing that, he slides all the way down the hallway and propels himself in another direction. Pinky, without thinking, chases after him. Wait, Pinky, Snipe shouts, but it's already too late as she ran down after him. The bastard! He's splitting us up so he can kill us, Rock states. Back with Pinky, she somehow catches up to Massacre, but then as she's about to shoot him, the guy jumps out the window. Of course, not thinking, she jumps after him. Upon leaving, however, she realized that all of Massacre's wires were aimed at her. She quickly made a shield of acid, and while that did protect her from the ones in front of her, she failed to notice the ones coming from behind her. The objects stabbed through her stomach, causing her to vomit blood, and then she hit the ground. The sound of her spine and skull shattering would have made any normal person vomit from the sound, but Massacre didn't care, as he then kicked her head in. Well, looks like you now have a split personality. Just then a bullet shot into his foot. As he was aching from the pain, Snipe then hit him in the face with the bottom of his gun. Massacre quickly uppercut him, and then launched more of his wires. Rock though froze most of them, and any that he missed Snipe shot. It wasn't long before the villain was completely restrained. You villain are under arrest. The rest of your foul compatriots will fall as well, Snipe declared. No, I won't be defeated, not after what I promised him. Oh hero, I don't think you see the gravity of the situation. After Massacre said that, all the wires detached from him, and he started to leap in the air. The two heroes were not expecting this, and while they were distracted, they didn't see the villain pulling out a shuriken. The object lodged itself between Snipe's eyes as blood oozed out. The hero fell down dead on the ground. Rock quickly grabbed Massacre by the boots since he wasn't high enough and pulled him down. After that, he froze both of his boots and started to beat the villain till he was unconscious. Nizu, all the others are dead. I secured the villain and called the cops. I will now be heading to the rendezvous point. And with that, another hero survives. Giganto's Showdown. In the office of Nizu, we see our principal busy drinking tea after almost simultaneously having 5 calls come through of the heroes raiding on the sites. Tragically, most of them died except for 1 survivor each time, thus bringing the overall total for the final raid right now at 5. He was getting highly worried, however, for the 6th group. It has been many hours since the last ones reported and they still haven't made any contact with him. He only can hope they were all right. Speaking of, about 2 hours earlier we see a group of 4 heroes moving in on an abandoned mine. 2 of them go inside the mine, 1 stays outside to guard, while the last one checks out the surrounding area through the air. The group we see consists of Sugarman, Ingenium, Naikang, and Hawks. Ingenium, do you see anything yet? Naikang said through his earpiece. No, there aren't any of those creatures or villains here. Keep looking, we need to be absolutely sure that no one is here. Right. While those 2 are looking in the wrong places, we see Sugarman waiting by the entrance. But what he doesn't know is the rude awakening he's about to receive. What's happening? The hero shouts as the ground starts to quake. Out from under him bursts a giant hand that grabs him. Then from the rest of the dirt comes Gigantomachia. Master told me to kill anyone whom me not know. Me crush you. Try as the hero could, the giant's grip was too strong, and before long the big man popped the little superhero. After covering his hand in the puny mortal's blood, he dug back underground to deal with the others. Hawks, having heard the commotion, flew over and paled when seeing the crushed corpse of his comrade. Crap, Sugar Man is dead. I repeat, Sugar Man is dead. Ingenium, when hearing that his fellow classmate died, stopped in his tracks. It broke his heart to know that one of his friends just died. He quickly snapped out of it, however, when he heard the sound of ground ripping. The wall behind him caved in and Gigantomachia was there. Ingenium, seeing the danger, started to run as fast as he could with the behemoth on his tail. Sir, I have the villain chasing me and he is huge. Good, lure him into a dead end and we'll cave it in on him. The fast hero listened and kept taking twists and turns through the underground maze until he reached a stopping point. Afterward he kicked the holding points of the room and ran through the only exit, which partially caved in after. The huge villain next came through the room, and right as he entered, the beam snapped. The result was that the entire mountain came crashing down on him. Outside we see the 3 heroes that were left waiting before they went down to see if the big guy was unconscious. After waiting for about an hour, Ingenium decided to run down and check it out. Of course, the heroes tried to warn him that they should go at the same time, but it was too late. When he finally heard them, he was right above the Colossus, and the beast just grew his claws out and slashed upward. His reach was so far that he was able to hit the hero, slicing him into 3 pieces. Gigantomachia then unbarred himself and glared at the last 2 pros. I'll hit him high, Naikang, see if you can control him, Hawks instructed. Got it. Hawks then flew at the monster while shooting some of his feathers to hit him from different directions. Gigantomachia was destroying them whenever he could by just hitting or biting them, but they were starting to overwhelm him. As he was distracted with the feathers, he didn't notice Hawks going straight for him. The hero, holding 2 feather blades, slashed right at the humongous man's neck. The weapons, however, didn't even cut through the guy, making the hero basically useless. Down on the ground we see Naikang just standing there, but in reality his conscience has left his body. The disembodied mind floats unseen and undetected towards the villain. Once he got close enough, the hero went inside of the giant. Gigantomachia stopped. He could feel something trying to take over, but luckily for him the many quirks in his body made it hard to do so. The colossal man knew he didn't have much time, so he ignored the feathers and walked towards Naikang. Hawks tried to stop him, as well as the other hero, but it was futile as the giant lifted his foot and smashed the hero, thus ending the possession. Now there is only you, Gigantomachia stated as he turned to look at Hawks. Now back to Nizu, at this time still questioning where the last group is. As he is doing this, however, he gets a call. Hello, this is Nizu. Who is calling? Nizu, this is Sensero Kenkamata. I am the Admiral of the Military Department of Japan. I have come to inform you to tell your men to not engage or go near your final destination. And why is that, Admiral? We have already figured out from the information you have recovered that the last location is where the man behind this is. Cause of that, we have sent a missile to his location. How powerful is the missile? Enough to light up all of Tokyo. Don't worry, we've evacuated everyone in the area and then this nightmare will be over. Nothing can survive an explosion like this, and even if it could, the debris and shrapnel will kill it then. Goodbye, sir. After the Admiral hung up, Niza quickly turned on his comms to everyone except the 6th location. Everyone, cease your advancement and quickly get back as far as possible. The government has launched a missile at the base and I do not want any of you needlessly dying. The heroes heard this and quickly turned back. True to their word, the military did fire a missile and it could be seen exploding by everyone once it hit. Master, Gigantomachia shouted as he hit Hawks away. The giant started running towards the big dome of light when a dragon head wrapped around him. Gigantomachia, stop your foolishness, Master wants us nowhere near him, remember? Massacre shouts at the man. He turns around to see the rest of the villains all together with Mikaboshi holding Hawks. May I pluck his wings? The dark bird asks. Massacre nods as then the villain uses Dark Shadow to tear off the hero's beautiful crimson wings. After doing that, he picks up the hero by the throat and snaps it. All the way in the rubble of the destroyed base. There is a crater with the remains of the city as well as the station Zeiram was in. Just mounds of debris, but inside there was a shaking sound. Out from the top under all the rock, busted a clawed hand. One last time. After the explosion died down, Niza quickly sent some drones to relay the damage. They had also scanned the area to see how high the radiation levels were. The results, however, frightened him as the level was absolute zero. What was happening should not be possible due to the weapon obviously being filled with it, yet not a single trace in the atmosphere. His drones kept looking and then he saw it. A hand sticking from the rubble and it was moving. The beast crawled from out of the wreckage and stood. It had a slight limp with its fake head disfigured. The visor was broken and his actual body hung to the left side of the fake. What terrified Niza, however, was the fact the bomb wasn't what injured it, for there was a giant piece of shrapnel stuck into the creature's body. The thing was screaming in pain as white bubbly foam emerged from the wound. The creature after a while stopped and then looked at the drones. It then transformed its arm into a gun and shot them all down, cutting the Fed. Damn it! Niza then picked up his communication device. All heroes, the villain survived and it seems the radiation has left the area. You must quickly kill it before our time is up. The 5 heroes, Red Riot, Cementos, Rock Lock, Chargebolt, and Dynamite quickly went to the location. As they entered there was nothing but ash and rock. Standing in the middle was their foe, towering over them yet slightly injured. Zeiram grabbed the shrapnel in his head, pulled it out then threw it at Rock Lock. The tremendous speed from the piece of metal gave the hero no time as it went right through his neck, decapitating him. Say hi to your family for me, hero, Zeiram stated after killing the man. Realizing the danger, Cementos made all the concrete in the area rise and wrap around the villain, except for the head. After that, Red Riot ran in and punched the monster with all his strength. Zeiram just sat there and let them keep hitting him. What they didn't notice was the wound in his head sealing up or his leg twisting back into place. After waiting for what felt like an eternity, he easily broke out and caught Red Riot's next punch. He moved the hand slightly, causing it to bend the wrong way, then threw the hero into Chargebolt. While those two were distracted, he turned towards the explosive and cement users. His head straightened as his visor reformed, causing him to be fully healed. You know, you all should really study up on your opponent if you're gonna do something drastic like that. You see, the more radiation I absorb, the more powerful my healing gets. You all just made me stronger, and made it so the countdown is quicker. Now the world will end in about 3 hours instead of 2 days. Hearing this, Cementos made the mistake of attacking without thinking by charging at the villain while riding on cement. When he tackled the man, the figure didn't move a bit as he punched straight through the hero's face, shattering him to pieces. Dynamite zoomed in and launched an explosion at the guy's pelvis. The attack, however, had no effect as Zeiram just punched the hero. Impressively, the hero blocked the attack and then used an even bigger one that was the size of a missile. Only the force of the blow actually did anything to Zeiram, as he had been pushed back a couple feet. Without making even a sound except for his footsteps, Zeiram walked towards the hero and grabbed him by the shoulder. Not using any effort, he picked the man up and threw him. The impact from just the toss caused the wind pressure to change, and blasted the hero into what can now only be described as a crater. While Zeiram was distracted though, he suddenly got shocked. The blast was from our one and only charge bolt. The electric hero slid under the villain and blasted him again. The shock stunned Zeiram for a second, but he quickly snapped out of it. Of course it gave Red Riot enough time, however, to punch him right in the face, his actual 1 BTW. Because of where the hero hit, it actually somewhat damaged the man. Sadly for the good guys, the wound instantly healed and Zeiram grabbed the redhead by the face. He smiled in pure ecstasy as he started squeezing down on the hero's head until his skull crushed. Hearing the shattering sounds was like music to his ears. The yellowhead, seeing this, got pissed and tried to attack him. "I'll kill you, bastard!" Of course it was in vain, as his anger blindsided him and made him wide open. Zeiram moved his arm back and thrusted it with enough force that the blast made a hole straight through the hero's chest. Charge Bolt had his last breath as he fell down, dead. "Now all that's left is you," Zeiram said as he looked towards Dynamite. The explosive hero crawled out of the hole and saw hi dead friends. "You monster, I'm gonna bucking kill you!" The hero launched himself at the villain with all his might, fusing one for all at 100% with his explosion, and slammed right into the villain's head. The blast from it wiped out the entire rest of the area and made the place one big hole. As the smoke cleared, however, "You are very powerful, I give you that. However, you are very easy to predict," Zeiram stated as he held Dynamite's hand in his own, negating the blast. After finishing, he threw his own punch with the other hand. This time, however, the hero caught it. "Looks like we're at a standstill, Bucker." "You really think that? Then you haven't been studying enough. Unlike you heroes, I made sure to know everything about all of you," Zeiram shrieked as his neck stretched out, and he launched at the hero. "I know you have, that's why I had to make you let your guard down, and to suck up my pride to do something I would never do," Dynamite stated. The hero let go of the hand he was holding and dodged out of the way. With his free hand he slipped a knife out of his gauntlet, grabbed it, then stabbed straight through the villain's throat. "Well played, Kaken," Zeiram said while he fell to a kneeling position. Dynamite's eyes quickly changed to terror as he ran towards what used to be his friend. "Izu, how can that be you? Why didn't you say something?" Bakuga shouted while crying. "I killed them, I killed them all because I don't know them, and I don't care. But I could never kill you, Kaken." "Koichi, I hope you lead the team well," Zeiram thought as he closed his eyes. Farther away we see the rest of the AS. In front of all of them being Massacre, or by his real name Koichi Himawari. He's just sitting with the pit of fear in his stomach as he sees one of the buds wilting and remembering what Zeiram said to him before the plan. "Koichi." "Yes, master? If my plan fails and I die, I want you to be in charge." "What? But sir, I can't. Dalby and 9 are way stronger. Have one of them be in charge. Besides, I'm the newest, so I should be ETH. That is not up for debate. You are the most intelligent and supported out of all of them. I've already told Gigantomachia that you are in charge if I die. Also, I must tell you though to not despair if my plan fails. My buds only die if a certain amount of damage is obtained on my physical being. But if I do, go and make me proud." "So what do we do now, master?" Gigantomachia asks as he looks at Massacre. The villain takes off his mask as he has a smirk. "We will carry out the old master's will. Besides, I'm sure we won't be down for long," Massacre stated as they all slipped into the shadows. Izuku Midoriya, otherwise known as Zeiram, was treated as a monster for most his life. A freak, experiment, a creature from a fairy tale. Fairy tales and myths are never truly over. And like these legends of make-believe, in the pit where the dead body lay, its neck twitched.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown in left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.